each had 2 RBI in support of starter Sean Manaea. He went 7 strong innings, 1 run allowed, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts in the victory. New York leads that series 2-1. I'm Eddie Garcia.
Previously on The Crossover.
What if they just ripped out a whole section and just put only porta potties in the section?
I think it'd look great.
The pan across the stadium.
The stadium, you just see all these blue porta potties.
Reduce capacity by 5,000, put in like 1,000 porta potties.
But can you imagine the game's going poorly and someone gets mad, they tip over the porta potty?
No.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley. The Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P. 1620. The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast presented by Bellevue Berry and Pumpkin Ranch from the KETV Newswatch 7 Weather Center on 1620 The Zone.
Warming up for your Wednesday, expect hazy sunshine throughout the day with the south breeze 5 to 15 miles per hour, highs in the low to mid 80s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. Good morning and hope your Wednesday is off to a great start today. Pretty quiet on the roads in the early hours here, but one thing of note, Dodge Expressway around 168th, both directions down to just one lane for some road work, but both on-ramps are open right now. As always, stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
Saul's Jewelry and Loan at 120th and Center is our West Omaha location. It's our West Omaha home for amazing prices on jewelry, tools, bikes, guitars, anything you're looking for, as well as cash on the spot loans right in the store. Come see us at Saul's at 120th and Center.
Many people go back to the dealership out of habit or because they think the dealer is the only one who knows how to fix their car. At Omaha Car Care, we offer a better option. We have ASE certified technicians, the technology to service any vehicle, and free loaner cars. The dealer will sell you a package of services. We'll provide the service you want for your car as your trusted partner. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
I'm Bridget Condon with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Jets have decided to part ways with head coach Robert Saleh after a 2-3 start in the 2024 season, marking his 4th year in charge since taking over in 2021. Saleh compiled a record of 20-36 and was unable to lead the team to the playoffs. This is the first time in Woody Johnson's 25 years of ownership that a coach has been let go mid-season. Defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich will step in as interim head coach. Meanwhile, Saints quarterback Derek Carr is expected to miss several games due to an oblique injury sustained against the Chiefs on Monday night, according to NFL Network insiders Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo. Garafolo noted that the rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler is a strong contender to start in Week 6 against the Bucs, despite Jake Haener taking over for Carr during the loss to Kansas City. Additionally, Rappaport reports that Patriots rookie quarterback Drake May is set to start Week 6 against the Texans. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of The Pen, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing catch. Because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and one blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, The Pen is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, Depend is donating 40 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for Depend Shield Guards Real Fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $300,000 void in Mississippi.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Did you know every 3 seconds someone is a victim of identity theft? LifeLock wants to give you helpful tips to protect your identity this Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Adding multi-factor authentication, like a text with a security code, is one way to boost your security. But for comprehensive protection, trust LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal info and steps in to resolve issues that arise, guaranteed or your money back. Protect yourself with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is always looking to make your game day bigger and better. Cheer on your favorite team this season in front of a 22-foot LED video wall showing up to 8 games at once. TVs are everywhere else you can look with a state-of-the-art audio and video system. Enjoy a big old pizza or award-winning char-buffed wings. There's just no better way to do your game day. Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road. And for takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Roofing, siding, and gutters. Make the right call with the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
1620 The Zone.
First pitch on the way. And high in the air to right field, pretty deep. Castellanos back at the track, at the wall, and it's gone. He hit it off the facing of the second deck, the Coca-Cola corner. Another opposite field home run for Pete Alonso. The Mets are leading by a score of 1-0.
2-1. Winker hits a high drive, right field, toward the pole. It is gone! Second deck shot, Jesse Winker. 2-0 Mets in the fourth. Oh, did he turn on that? Kept it fair.
1-1. Here's the pitch. Swinging a liner towards first. Fair ball. Base hit. Going off the right field jutting stance to Castellanos in right. That'll get Martinez home. They will hold Taylor at third, and diving into second with a double and a run batted in is Francisco Lindor, and the Mets have increased their lead to 7-2.
You know, this isn't an offense that you can underestimate in any matter. I think, you know, they're very gritty. They have guys who can slug the ball. They have guys who put the ball in play, and they run bases really well. They do the small things really well, and they don't strike out a lot, which kind of plays, you know, really well in a playoff format. I believe. I think when you don't have a lot of swing and miss, and you're able to move guys over and do the small things right, I think, you know, it can really, you know, bode well in situations like this. So obviously, it's a tall task and a challenge, but nothing that I don't welcome.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
Hey, before we get started, talking about the baseball, baseball was good last night. Does Marcus Satterfield, because I was listening to the NFL Network update, does Marcus Satterfield get credit for an NFL quarterback? Spencer Rattler,
who everybody in New Orleans wants to be the guy now.
People have forgotten about Spencer Rattler, but does Marcus Satterfield get to put that on his resume before Dylan plays in the NFL?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It looks you guys don't sound so enthusiastic. He was his quarterback in South Carolina.
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
he was.
People forget about Spencer Rattler. Remember when Spencer Rattler was the thing?
Yes.
And now he's
Oklahoma,
going to be the thing for a bit in New Orleans.
Then we forgot about him in South Carolina for a bit, and then we were reminded of him, and now everybody in New Orleans was very, very thankful that it wasn't going to be, what's the other guy's name that's kind of the...
Caleb Williams?
No. The who was listed as of Monday night, the backup quarterback.
John Forcade.
Jake Holman?
Is that it? Yeah.
No, that's not his
name.
No,
who's the guy?
They're two guys that played Derek Carr and the other dude. They're from Fresno State.
And his picture looks like he had glamour shots. He's like, hey.
What is that guy?
How you doing?
Hayner?
Yes, that's it.
Jake
That's
Hayner?
it. Yeah, Hayner. Thank you.
I mean, the cradle of college quarterbacks is Fresno State. But I thought,
no longer Purdue.
I thought, hey, man, I mean, Spencer Rattler, that's a Marcus Satterfield, South Carolina guy.
Oh, he better show up then.
I mean, Nebraska's got an OC that's got a quarterback in the NFL.
See?
When was the last time that happened?
Claim that, yes.
Mark Whipple?
Yeah.
I mean, Whipple had Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, Pickett. Yeah, which didn't go all that well. So let's go, Spencer. Come on.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. It is a hump day. Get your hump game started early for the next 4 hours. Just be humping right along on a Wednesday. As we welcome in, you've heard from Nick. There's Jimmy. I'm Garrett. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley. In the mornings, playoff baseball would be in a tribute to one of the best Cubans to ever play in the majors who passed away yesterday at the age of 83, El Tiante. It was excelente. It was excellent.
Well done. Caliente.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was now I talk playoff baseball, and I'm very jealous of y'all that have teams playing. The Cubs are not in it. Don't know if you've noticed that or not, because it's probably lessened the playoffs because the Cubs are not in it. But I am enjoying it from afar. So I have no skin in the game other than I don't want the debacle of the Diamondbacks and Rangers being in the World Series where everybody else watches fewer innings. But I would say that the playoff baseball has been excellent.
It has. And you know how we've noticed that the Cubs are not in it? Because one of the great no, bear with me. This isn't like jabbing or anything.
Because we don't have Steve Cohen as our owner.
Well, okay.
That feels like he's an extension of the fans.
And Grimace. You don't have Grimace, which was
True.
a real big thing.
I'm telling you
yesterday.
right now, if I was a Phillies fan and I was losing to a team that celebrated Grimace.
You're looking to do something to Grimace?
I'd jump off something. Just saying.
Sign the hamburger.
Not to come to an end, but like maybe break a bone.
Yeah.
But if I'm losing to a team that embraces Grimace,
and they do,
and Frank the Tank, I would be done. I would give up my loyalty to that baseball team.
The amount of people dressing up as Grimace now, other than Grimace actually being there and taking the subway to the game yesterday too, is fantastic. But no,
only in New York.
I was going to say that's just Wednesday in New York.
Citi Field looked amazing. The party that was going on, I mean, from first pitch, it was amazing. Even Francisco Lindor giving them almost like the very first at bat. You think, oh, is it gone? It was a deep fly, by the way. But I mean, everything was amped up there. And then, of course, you've already seen it at Petco Park.
The Electric Factory, 47K there last night.
Chicago not being in there, that's one of the greatest parties, though, is Wrigley during the playoffs. That was a great party. So that's how I know, because it would have been a blast at Wrigley as well.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to ruin everybody's party. I mean, we got our own issues.
You got a bear, too, right?
And we got a Cub.
Yeah.
We got a Cub. We got a mascot that doesn't wear pants.
No.
Okay, that creeps me out. To this day, when I'm taking a dirt nap, I will go to the dirt nap still with mascots that don't wear pants creep me out.
Yeah.
Okay. Even mascots that don't wear pants is more creepy to me than Herbie Husker.
The Coyote. I grew up with a mascot with no pants.
Yeah, we have that in common then, because Slider doesn't wear pants and he's pink and furry.
Yeah.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
No one ever brings that up that, hey, the mascot ain't wearing pants.
Yep.
All right, walks into a kid's birthday party and you go, the mascot ain't wearing pants.
I do that. I get arrested.
And we don't know if it's anatomically correct either, because there's no way of okay.
But it has been great with the playoff baseball because you tune in and the crowds have been electric.
Yep.
Whether it be at Citi Field or Petco Park, what it's going to be like, I don't know if you can handle Comerica Park. That's a different beast.
It will be.
But I thought about this. You know the old tagline when Ole Miss was making their run in the College World Series is "Don't let the Rebs get hot."
Yeah.
That's kind of what like the playoffs are. Like the Phillies had their best year since 2011.
Mm-hmm.
They have lived for this moment. All right, this is the year they break through. But they haven't been able to flip the switch in 3 games where the Mets got hot. Yeah. They have stayed hot. The Padres, who I think the Padres are the best team in baseball right now. But it's like this time of the year with momentum is you don't let a team get hot. That's kind of like what the Mets are, because the Mets story makes no sense that they are on the brink of eliminating the Philadelphia Phillies. They're 27 outs from the NLCS. The New York Mets.
They have a 73% chance of moving on. Anybody who wins that game 3, that is 2 games or 1 game up, but 2 games to 1 in their series, has the 73% advantage. And both the Mets and the Padres have not lost in that situation, too.
Don't let them get hot. That's what I'm telling you.
And that's what worries me today, too, because we've now seen 2 and I think 3. I mean, regardless of what happens to the Tigers in the series, you've seen the fact that they're even in the DS. You've seen now 3 teams between the Padres, the Mets, what the Tigers have done just to get to the postseason. Other than my solid belief in it doesn't always make sense to me on how they construct the team, that I will believe Cleveland will prevail. Yeah, I'm damn nervous today.
Well, you went and got Alex Cobb for the playoffs.
Yeah.
He turned 37.
Hey, you know what? They got Matthew Boyd, though, too. And Matthew Boyd actually pitched very, very well.
He pitched well. But we have 4 games today, including a game down at the K, where some people paid more for their World Series ticket in 2015 than they paid for the ticket to go see Game 3 of the Yankees and the Royals. The K will be rocking.
Mm-hmm.
It will be a moment where Bob Costas, who I think will do a course correction tonight, Because Bob, what we said about Bob yesterday, Bob pays attention. So Bob will do a course correction, and by the end of the night, you will think that he has pushed Mayor Lucas out in Kansas City, and Bob Costas is the mayor of Kansas City. But then Bob will be Bob doing the Royals-Yankees game at the K last night, or the K tonight, which will be an electric factory. He will convince you that the Royals are making a major mistake looking to move to a ballpark downtown because the K is the greatest cathedral in baseball history. Yeah. That's what will happen tonight. But all of these atmospheres in the 4 games today, 2 that have clinchers and the other 2 that the road team is back for their first home game, they're great. When you're flipping through television and you see these are bangers, man, you hear the noise in San Diego.
Yes.
And even if you don't have a dog in the hunt, you stop there and you go, all right. And then you know what else gets you? You know what else gets you? The pitch clock.
Got him yesterday.
Well, I'm not saying like a violation.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying what it has done to the enjoyment of the game of baseball.
I actually thought about that last night, too.
Some say the 3-point line, Jimmy, is like one of the greatest inventions in sports.
Except Greg Popovich.
I'm telling you, the pitch clock and what it has done to the pace of play in baseball
is 4-hour playoff games.
That game last night, San Diego, LA. So I was able to stay up and watch the whole game. That game without the pitch clock, you get to 10 o'clock Central Time, and I bet that game's in the 4th inning.
I was going to say 3rd.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the pitch clock to change the pace of play has been such a huge bonus, and it hits you even more in the postseason because some of these games would have gone on forever.
Yeah.
But yet they're nice, they're crisp, they're more enjoyable to watch on television. You know, in the stadium, it's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
But watching on television where the game flows and you're like, oh my God, this isn't the Yankees Red Sox where we're going to play 5 hours.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? We just had a good game, lots of runs, and we played like 245 and it didn't feel like 245.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the college game where they've implemented it, it's so loosely exactly. It's so loosely implemented. Like there's times you will look at the very next pitch in every game you're watching here in the postseason, and the pitch clock will be down to 10 seconds every time. You're seeing it's consistent. It starts. The pitchers know it. Everybody is in sync with it. You watch in college, like, oh, they forgot to start it.
Yeah, it's a joke in college.
It's down to 2 seconds, and like they haven't even gone into the stretch.
At the College World Series.
Yeah.
I mean, they would periodically call it.
Just to remind you that it's there.
Yeah, you'd sit there and you'd watch the 20-second clock on the outfield wall get to 0, and you're like, no one's doing anything.
Oh, there's been times, and even just doing the Creighton games last year and then doing Nebraska games the year that they tried it out too. Like, it's there. Why hasn't it started yet?
Yeah, well, the problem is, I mean, I know from being out of Warner, I mean, that's a big deal. The FTCers that run it are like on point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in college, it's
there.
very random.
It's like a prop.
Yeah, like in the SEC in the conference games, it's very much. But for Major League Baseball, it has had a huge impact. And I'm not one to, because I know the other side of the argument with this is, well, baseball was never meant to be played on a time limit. It was meant to be played with 27 outs. To me, it's never been about the time of the game. There have been times where I've gone to baseball games, now with the pitch clock in both the minors and the majors, where the game went even 3 hours, but it didn't feel like a 3-hour game because this is about the pace of play.
Yep.
And it's one of the best inventions for baseball in trying to adapt to people that are watching the game on TV. If you can get the game on TV wherever you live, I think it's fantastic. And it showed up big time last night in that game because, hell, the Dodgers and the Padres maybe still be playing.
Well,
because there would have been pitching changes and, just guys, it's Steve Traxel would have shown up and taken 50 seconds between every pitch.
I mean, pace, that's the thing. The length of the game, pace are two completely different things. You're absolutely right. There are games that you feel at times, and I've seen the flip side of it where I'm like, gosh, this feels like it's dragging. This game feels like it's dragging. There's just not a lot going on. And all of a sudden you look at the clock, you're like, we're actually moving along pretty well. And then the opposite where, like you just mentioned, but also what I don't know if people talk about enough is it always seems like it's advantage on the mound because, well, some people say it's advantage in the batter's box because you're speeding up the process. I would say from some of your most elite high school pitchers that go into college to the pros, 90% maybe would tell you they want the rhythm. They want to get it and go. They want to be able to do that. So you do get that part of it on the mound, but also a hitter. less time to think about it. I mean, it's not like the days of stepping out of the box, looking down at your third base coach, seeing like, okay, what do you want me to do here? Or getting dummy signs, stuff like that. That's the old school, all right? That doesn't happen. Now you look at your digital wristband now. But it also allows a hitter less thinking. You see it, you process it, you go. It's having the quick blinker on both sides. So I think it has allowed balance when it comes to the competitive advantage on the mound compared to the competitive advantage that's in the batter's box too. It's just a better product. And when it's consistent, it's constantly going. So you don't allow yourself to be like, gosh, and you're right. I get the old hat saying, well, if you didn't like the old way, then you're not a true fan. Well, this never existed. It was never brought up. But ask the players what they like more now, because it allows themselves to stay engaged in a rhythm.
Well, I think now you're used to it. I mean, it's part of baseball. I mean, they're not changing. It's part of baseball. You either adapt or you die.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you want to sit there and complain about it, go ahead and complain about it. It's not changing.
Right.
It's actually helping the game.
It is.
And when you have a game like last night, the game flows so much better. There's just constant activity. Why do we like some of these sports that they, like college softball, for example, and even college volleyball? Because there's constant activity.
Yes.
There's always something going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to watch, it's not a labor to watch something if you don't have a rooting interest in it. Now, football is probably a little bit different because we don't have 162 games. Okay. We have 12 Saturdays a year. We have 17 Sundays or whatever day of the week the NFL is going to play on for your team. So it's a little bit different. But we have all commented this year, the increased inventory with commercial. It's not the game, because they've actually worked on the pace of the game in the college level with not stopping after every first down, stopping the clock after every first down. It's the commercial load that has turned some college football games into a slog, but it's very rare now that a college football game is going longer than 3:15?
Right.
Now, the NFL's found a way to stick their windows of about 3 hours, and their halftimes are smaller than they are in college.
Yes, you get a highlight package, and then you go right back out to the field. Like, all right, second half's coming your way. Like, Jesus. Then they just go in the locker room?
Yeah. So I'm not asking in college, the NFL, that, hey, we need to have a clock, because we already do. It's the college thing is the commercial.
Yep.
The commercial inventory this year. And you notice it when you're at a game. I will tell you where it's even more is sitting at home watching a college football game these days. It seems like, wow, where did the game go? Did they lose connection with the stadium site?
Okay, so you've been watching
those 8-minute media timeouts.
When you've been there, you've been in the press box. You're sitting next to people, so during timeouts, you're able to engage with other people, and so
more than once.
It probably you notice it, but it probably makes it a little bit less.
Yeah, the only thing you notice is when now, they have the guy that used to just have the gloves on and he would signal when the timeout's coming.
Be out on the field.
He now brings out the clock.
Yep,
which is a sundial.
So the clock is 3:30, 3:15,
20,
or 3:20. Okay, but then it looks like it takes forever to wind down.
Yes, and then okay, so then
but you know where else they've done that? Have you guys been to an NBA game lately in like the last 3 or 4 years? So
no.
When the NBA goes to a timeout, and they have a lot more timeouts, of course, in the NBA. And this is where I first noticed it, and some colleges arenas do this. They'll put the timeout countdown on the shot clock.
Oh,
yes,
okay,
I have seen that.
Okay. I noticed it the most actually when I was at the Northern Iowa game. We're sitting in the stands. It just felt like it's forever. Now, again, I'm around people I know, but you can see both teams on the sideline. They got some type of presentation going on, and it feels like it's taken forever. Like, Jesus, how long do they get here? And then the team's starting to come back onto the field, but you can tell it's not even close to being ready to resume action. And then it was after the Northern Iowa game, when I'm watching the Purdue game at home, that's where I'm like, Jesus, these things are long.
Well, and we all talk about the college football game where you'll have a touchdown, extra point, TV timeout.
Yep.
Kickoff, TV timeout.
TV timeout. Exactly. It's a stop and go. But you're right. I mean, the total. See, that's where the difference between pace and time. It still doesn't go into 4 hours unless you're in some crazy overtime game. But when you have a lot of that going on, it gets extremely stop and go, feels very clunky. There's not that pace there. in a baseball game right now, where even if the time is starting to extend close to 3 hours, you still have that constant pace.
Okay, so what do you guys think the Rutgers time of game? Well, wait, let me start this way. What do you think is the shortest game this year? Because Nebraska's played 3 games and they're all within 3 minutes of each other.
I would say UTEP.
So close. So that's second. So UNI was 3:16.
Okay.
UTEP was 3:18. Purdue was 3:19. But watching that game on television,
that
was the first game I watched on TV this year. It seemed longer.
Take a nap.
Illinois, because you had overtime,
Yeah.
was 3:40. Rutgers was 3:34. Colorado was 3:34.
The Colorado one, the reason I didn't even think about that, putting that up there, is because of the amount of penalties in the second half, too. So you had a lot of stoppages going on in that part of the game. The UNI and the UTEP game, you have backups in there towards the end, too. So there's no strategic timeouts being taken either. And it, for the most part, was somewhat clean there in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, that makes sense. But again, you kind of look at those games where it doesn't feel like the pace is good, yet the time, it doesn't jive. That's why, and I remember when I was doing, the first year they tested out the pitch clock was when I was doing PA at Warner. And I thought, this is weird, man. I can see the clock out there. This is so bizarre. I don't think it was maybe even 3 games into it where I didn't even notice it was there. And yet they were hammering on it pretty good. And, they were making sure that they were starting it consistently. They were enforcing it consistently. So then I got really excited about it when they did it in college. I'm like, oh, you guys are really going to like this. But half the time it even start on time. Nobody, it starts with the umpires when you're not enforcing it, but also
it starts with the people that are running it.
That are running it. Exactly. It has to be started consistently. Yeah. You can't have those, guys are in their stretch and then all of a sudden it's starting like, okay, well then why do you have it?
Nope. And you don't notice it. Like go to Warner Park. You don't notice it if you're going to a game. The only time I notice it is when I'm the official scorer because I can hear the beep because they're sitting right next to me. But you don't notice it. And last night is a prime example. Thank you, Manfred. There's a lot of things I don't like about Manfred because he didn't like the game as much as I like the game. But the pitch clock is such a huge thing, and even more so in the postseason, because in the postseason you don't also allow the managers just cobra the game, just squeeze the hell out of it and overmanage. And the next thing you know is like, oh my God, looks like the evening news will be starting at 11:30.
And did it have an impact in the second inning from hell for the Dodgers?
I don't know. Then we had
started right off with
we had a grand salami.
That one was just blasted.
Yep, that was a fun game. The crowd made it fun. The crowds have been great.
So KO
be rocking the night.
You as well as you stayed up, watched the entire thing because it was a 6-5 ball game. But if we had known how it would go after the third inning, we all could have went to bed.
Yeah.
We all could be like, all right, I bet it'll be 6. I mean, if I would have went to bed after the third inning, though, I probably would have thought that 6-5 ain't going to hold.
Philly Dodgers are on the brink today of being eliminated. Coming up at 8 o'clock, Bill Bender from the Sporting News. One of the things Bill does every week is he ranks all the FBS teams. So we're going to go 1 through, 134?
Yeah.
So we're going to go 1 through 134 with Bill. Going to have to probably push back Jay and Brandon Vogel because it may take 2 hours. But Bill Bender from the Sporting News will join us. Jay Moore, fresh off his appearance of Big Red Wrap-Up last night. And Brandon Vogel from Counter Read. That's the lineup brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. It is bye week. We've trudged to the middle of bye week. That what you do during bye week?
Yeah, you're the man, by the way, because you're finishing out the week. I'm just, it's too much for me. I got to call it quits.
Yeah, it happens.
That's right.
Yeah, it's okay.
You saw the weather forecast and you're like, no, screw this. I'm going to go lay outside.
I got to
play some golf.
Got a damn birthday party.
We'll discuss some things about Nebraska football at the halfway point, and also an interesting stat about the great Indiana Hoosiers that are on a pace to win the playoff. Okay. Oh, that's the best thing that happened to Mike Woodson. People don't have to pick apart, is this going to be the year or not with hoops?
It is a nice little
smoke
screen.
They're talking football in Indiana, but I think we need to talk about a stat I stumbled upon. I stumbled upon 2 significant stats yesterday that involve Big Ten teams that are not named Nebraska.
Oh, okay.
That actually could benefit Nebraska, if you get what I mean.
Okay.
All right. You can always join the conversation on the program, whether it be on 1620 The Zone TV. Let's see how the chat's doing this morning. The Drunk Monk is with us. He says he hasn't watched baseball much since Bonds retired. Well, you know what? They're still playing. You got 4 games, Drunk Monk, to watch today?
There's a guy named Shohei Ohtani. He's pretty good.
They're good.
Ooh. Last
night he wasn't good.
Caught looking twice, including that bat in the 8th.
He'll hit 3 home runs tonight.
Overrated. Probably won't make the Hall of Fame. Just like Mike Trout.
3 hitters till Ohtani. 3 hitters till Ohtani.
You can join us on 1620 The Zone TV, YouTube, Twitch, wherever you get us. Hop in the stream. Let's be kind today. We've had a kind of an interesting week on the stream. And there's been a lot of infighting. It's like the Feinbaum show where callers are fighting against callers.
Yeah.
So
everybody love everybody.
Hop in there. We'll interact with you there. You can always dial us up on the 42 Degree The Source hotline, 402-951-1620, or on the Equitable Bank inbox. That's the email. Lots of emails. One about time zones, Matt, that I've read. I'll mention it on air, but it was 10 paragraphs. Gary at 1620thezone.com.
Handley at 1620.
Nice. No, it was I read it.
A lot of thought into it?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's just way too long to read on air.
Yeah.
But it was about time zones. And, I mean, Ohio State, Penn State this weekend. Jumping a couple of time zones to play on the West Coast. You can also hit us up on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed at Gary Sharp 1620.
At Nick Handley 1620.
All right, we're off and running. Bill Bender joins us in about 90 minutes. Plus, we'll talk. Also, we'll sneak in a little hoops because people are losing their mind about something Nebraska did, or he did before he left. We'll get into that when we return. Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone.
Onyx.
Utah Hockey Club played last night. Come on. Just name them the Yetis.
Did you listen or watch any of it? It was a sound on for the baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
But how would I say his name wrong? Wishusian?
Bob Wishusian. Voice of the New York Jets. He got out of New York before he could get fired by Woody.
Mm-hmm. He loves himself some Connor Bedard.
That's good.
And I do too.
That's good. I slow start, better finish.
Awful defense.
Game one.
Awful defense.
But I was give credit. Geez, I can't believe I've done this in the first hour. I've said something positive about two commissioners in the Big Four professional
Gary
sports.
Bettman.
You look at expansion in the
Gary
NHL,
Bettman.
the only place where it really has not worked is Atlanta. So Salt Lake City is off to a good start. They kind of have the same issues that the Coyotes had when they first got to Phoenix and they played in the NBA arena.
Mm-hmm.
Tons of obstructed view seats, like behind the nets. They have the black coverings.
Yep.
But even if you're sitting above the goals, you can't see the goal.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and they want to build a new arena there, and that's the main reason why.
It's like when they, and that's why then the Coyotes got their place out in Glendale when they went from downtown Phoenix. Lots of obstructed view seats, but it looks like because of the owner who also owns the Jazz, they've got a lot of enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
But look at Nashville, Smashville.
Yeah.
They Bay, Florida. Now it helps that they've won cups.
Yeah.
Vegas helps that they won a cup.
Yep.
Seattle, the Kraken are off to a good start. Their first year, they made the postseason. Like the NHL is set up for expansion teams to do well, and Utah's not an expansion team. They moved from Arizona, but outside of Atlanta, the expansion in the NHL for the most part has worked. And when people said, "Oh, you're not going to be able to sell hockey in the Sunshine State or in the Sun Belt," they've been able to sell it. Hell, the Panthers won a Stanley Cup, and their arena is literally across the street from a mall. Not across the expressway or anything. You could walk outside of the arena in Sunrise and walk across, go through the crosswalk, and you're at a mall.
Okay, so when
the expansion is like
picturing an arena across from West Roads now.
Outside of Atlanta, the expansion of the NHL has worked out pretty well.
When you were out there in the lean years for Tampa Bay and for Florida, what was the support like out there?
Florida was rough. Because the arena is a little bit out of the way.
Yeah.
It is north of the major metropolitan areas. It's right on the edge of a swampland.
Yeah.
And it's an older arena. So, they did
that had a lot to do with
have
it.
some success. Remember, they were in the Stanley Cup final against the Avs.
Yes.
When the whole rats thing, people throw.
Yep.
But then they
They
went on this dry spell. And it was really, really tough.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've kind of the last couple of years, they've had really good teams. So Tampa Bay really has never had an off time.
That's what I was wondering. It always seemed like the Lightning maybe, at least they were talked about in more of the wide spectrum of the NHL, but Florida always kind of seemed like an afterthought.
Yeah. And it's kind of, it's not as bad as the Marlins. And it's unique. Plus, hockey is different. Baseball in Florida, the people that love baseball go home to their cities where they have baseball during the summer.
Yeah.
So it's more locals that have to support baseball. In the wintertime, you won't believe when Toronto and Edmonton and Montreal roll into Florida or Tampa.
They bring a lot of fans?
Well, they don't really bring fans. The Canadians are already there.
Oh, they're already there. Okay.
They winter in Florida.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. You have the snowbirds. Yes.
Yeah. But Tampa Bay has a great setting outside of the arena. That's where the Final Four in volleyball was last year. It's right downtown in Tampa Bay. But they've been good. And they've won. So that's helped. And all these teams have won. Nashville was in the Stanley Cup final, against the Blackhawks. In Vegas they hit a home run with Vegas. And that's a tough ticket to get if you're going to the Golden Knights.
Yeah.
But look at, they won a cup early in their tenure. They played in the Stanley Cup final in their first year.
Well, in 2015, and that's when I really thought that the home environment for the Lightning would have been pretty sweet, because in that Stanley Cup final that Chicago ended up winning, but that was pretty electric. And then you mentioned Nashville, because that was also part of during that playoff run too for Chicago going through there. And I still to this day, even though everyone fights me on this, I think I like it. I love it. It's the worst goal song in the world, but people seem to enjoy it there.
But it's a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it is. It's cool as hell, especially when they're all yellow. When they do like their yellow out thing, like it's pretty sweet.
They played that in Pittsburgh. I could understand, but yeah, it fits.
All right,
welcome, no Chelsea Dagger, but
welcome back in, everybody. For everybody that's traveling down Interstate 29 today, have fun. Royals haven't been home for 17 days. I'm wondering who will get a better pop when they come to the plate for the first time, Salvi or Bobby. But I think the K will be rocking.
Yeah,
absolutely rocking. When a buddy of mine told me that he was going tonight, and he said he paid more for a ticket for tonight's game than he did for a World Series game against the Mets, I was like, really? Inflation?
Yeah.
I'll try to refrain from profanity on Twitter today.
I didn't go there.
Yeah.
We'll go see our friends at Tickets for Less if we go next week for the
I'm doing a garage viewing today.
Okay.
We got the fence going up, so there's gonna be a lot of things going on. So yeah, this is gonna be a garage viewing.
Gorgeous day too. Again.
Got the kegerator in there.
Oh, well, Bob Costas will convince you that the Royals should not move from the K. Do not go downtown. This is a great, great place. Can't wait for the Royals,
historic nature.
Can't wait for the Royals fans to give it to Jazz Chisholm. Aaron Judge over, postseason rated.
No, they'll just be chanting MVP every time Bobby Witt comes up, and they'll do that very loud, like the Mets fans were doing for Francisco Lindor.
Now, BWJ is 0 for 10 with 4 Ks, and he's got the Salvi postseason swing where he's chasing balls in the dirt.
You mentioned the home splits, though, too.
Yeah, well,
that bodes well.
Judge is 4 for 43 in his last 16 playoff games.
Oh, he's got A-Rod postseason stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They need Judge. I mean, the Yanks got to score some runs. They need Judge to get going. But that's going to be great today. Good start time. It's the third of the 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
So for everybody that's going, there's a little bit of jealousy here. I don't want to let it out too much.
Be okay.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
So there is a story out there that I think we need to talk about, but I didn't know that it was a big deal. But I'm not poo-pooing that people are very passionate about their basketball floor at Pinnacle Bank Arena, which
this has become a
last Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, people are passionate. They love their state of Nebraska. They love their Huskers. They also should love the fact that somebody messed up big time on the floor. But they are going to have a new floor at Pinnacle Bank Arena this upcoming season. It got let out last Friday because there was a picture of Nebraska practicing.
Mm-hmm.
And then yesterday, they unveiled it for everybody to see. And the biggest thing missing is the state outline in the middle of the floor. Now, the Nebraska basketball floor from the Devaney Center to PBA, it's been an interesting transition. There have been some meh. There have been some whoa. There have been some. So the circles on the free throw line in the lane are basketballs, and why is from the 3-point line in all red?
You know, that was a thing though in college, in basketball. Having the old basketball in the free throw lane, so it wasn't just something that they got wacky with. That was the trend.
Yeah, that was obnoxious.
It was bad.
So if it's a big deal or not, I'm not walking into Dannon's office today and saying the only thing I would say is, man, someone messed up on the N on one of the baselines. It is not it's not the N that they use in athletics.
Right.
So I can't believe that got through of all the checks and balances with the branding, and Nebraska's huge on branding. So they might have to redo it, like that little section. But I do like a lot of red. I like the red border.
Mm-hmm. I'm not,
I'd rather have the script Huskers than the N. But
I would too.
That's just me. You know what? If they win, who cares?
They
could play on dirt. They could shoot at peach baskets for all I care. But I like more red. I like the script Husker. If you're not going to do the state outline, I like the script Huskers over the N.
Okay, so I mentioned this during the crossover when Connor and I were talking about this on Friday. The actual state outline. I don't even really associate Nebraska basketball to. I associate state basketball to. Going down, getting out of school early, going to watch Millard South play and their 88 stud team. And I just thought that was like the coolest thing of seeing the state outline. And then you had the little spot there. And I was always happy that they kept it around. They brought it back.
State geography was better in Nebraska when you had a state outline on the floor.
Well, then we didn't have to have the debate of what is really Western Nebraska. I mean, you had the state right there to tell you could put
Gretna
right
West.
down the center where the center court was.
There were more kids from Millard North knew where Alliance was because
Exactly.
that's where they were shooting from.
Exactly.
Nice.
But then
We're going to be dumber now.
the N
That sucks.
is what it is.
Yes, it is.
But remember the year that they did the oversized N? It was the last year at the Vanny, right? The last years of the Vanny. That thing was obnoxious.
Just do a big giant Herbie head.
I want the Herbie spin in the basketball with the Husker script through it. I think the Husker script is awesome. I'm not necessarily so passionate about the state outline that you have to have it, but the N is just kind of like
I would rather I'd rather have script Huskers.
I would too, or Herbie spin in the basketball.
But I wonder if the change, because it's not like in the middle of the summer, the good folks at Pinnacle Bank Arena with the university are like, you know what? I think it's time for a change.
Yeah.
I think we need a new floor. This is usually about a 9 month to a year process. And remember, the last time they did the floor, they had the fans got involved.
Mm-hmm.
So I never heard about an agenda or anything about it being approved, any chatter about that we're going to have a new floor. But this is a Trev thing because he wanted uniformity.
Yep.
So the basketball floor, the new basketball floor kind of looks like the volleyball floor over in Devaney.
Absolutely, yeah. I would totally agree with that. Now that I think about that, it does. It looks exactly like the volleyball. So you mentioned the N on the baseline, by the way. Isn't it just Nebraska itself, how it's kind of
I don't know about the scrunch.
It's kind of scrunched together.
Does your wife wear a scrunchie in her hair?
No, she's a hair type person, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
don't think
I don't know. I don't think that.
Should I know that? Is
probably
that
not. I don't know. Maybe if you know intimate details about your significant
I'm
other,
pretty,
you
I know
if they wear a scrunchie.
I know
or not.
she's always like, "Did I leave my hair tie in your car?"
Ooh, that's the last thing you want to do if you're like married and have a side piece. Because women will find that. Seriously,
yeah,
they will. They will find that.
Oh, there's been times that I've seen
read
one
it
in
on
my
the
car,
internet.
and
Read
I
it on
didn't
the
even
internet.
realize that she
Shout
had
out
one in
Reddit.
my car. And I knew my truth. I knew there was not another female in my car. So I'm like, she sees this. This is obviously hers, right?
Haven't you seen my man bun?
Yeah, Mia especially.
No. So the N is not.
It's not the iron N or the block or the block, and it's
the
like
branding of that font.
Yeah,
it's not the N that goes with it.
Yeah, right.
So they
It's
may have
weird.
to redo that little piece, but only the keenest eyes would recognize that from fans because fans did sift through this yesterday. They did a good job of releasing this during a bye week.
Yeah, but
we wouldn't pay attention if this was next week against getting ready for Indiana. We wouldn't pay much attention to this other than the state outline is missing. You wouldn't go, wait a minute.
You wouldn't look at the baseline.
That N looks a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it first popped out on Friday, but everybody was so getting ready for Rutgers.
Well, you didn't see the whole floor. You
saw the baseline view.
Well, you
and
saw
then-
that there was more red, which I like the red.
Mhm.
I'm in it for red. I like more red. Says is on my profile.
Are you a fan of the two-tone court colors? Because they basically did away with that, where you had maybe the darker one that was inside the state, and then outside it was the normal court.
I can't
color.
tell it anymore because the first game that they played, remember at Williams Arena when they went with the floor?
Oh yeah,
that had no color.
Yes, and then
I did the first game in there.
The colors like really popped
Yeah.
on TV,
and you're a ways away from the floor.
Yeah,
awful.
Yeah. What I do like, and I love that Baxter did that with the different tone cityscape behind it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Omaha let their fans vote on the floor. It's a nice floor.
I like that.
Creighton has a ginormous logo in the middle of the floor. And Creighton, because of where the cameras are at the Chi, whenever you watch a Creighton game on TV, it looks like that floor is longer than 94
It does.
feet.
It looks like an enormous floor.
Gigantic because of the camera. The camera is so high up.
Yeah, and because of the Blue Jay being so enormous too, that you would think that it's penetrating into the top of the key, which it's actually not.
All right, let's discuss this. The change in the floor, will that impact Fred Hoiberg? Will that keep him at Nebraska? Was that a Hoiberg change? Or was that Trev out the door saying, screw you, Nebraska? You know what, Trev, I'm here to tell you, the skinny end is coming back for baseball. Whoa.
It better be.
Was I supposed to say that?
Sure.
The skinny end is coming back for baseball.
Well, I know two people.
I don't know that for a fact. I'm trying to speak that into existence.
Manifesting it.
I know a pretty important person in that baseball program prefers the skinny end, and I feel like he would have carte
like
blanche
that
on
guy.
that. So yes,
I like that guy.
Yeah.
I'd like that guy even more if there was home baseball in late May.
I think we all would.
But on that note, let's finish the hour with Nathan from Ohio. Good morning, Nathan.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, doing well. Hey, did you guys get the cigars?
Ooh, we have not.
No.
All right, you might want to check with your mailroom. I shipped them off like 2.5 weeks ago.
Whoa!
Who the hell took these?
Okay,
We'll talk to the
Grim.
afternoon show. Although I don't think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll take care of you, Nathan.
All right, not a problem. Not a problem. I got more coming to you as well. It's going to be a monthly thing. I'm going to put you guys on the schedule.
Oh my goodness!
Hello.
Thank you. Nathan.
Hello. All right.
So you reach out to me if you need a different address if people keep on taking them. But anyways, I guess my issue is when are we going to stop this weird cycle, right? So the cycle goes like this, right? Beginning of the week, the team we're playing is the most dominant team we're going to face ever, right? And then we beat them, and they were the worst. They were a fraud. It was completely like, when do we stop that? Like, so here's my prediction, right? So by the time Indiana rolls around, Indiana's going to be like almost a national championship incarnate, and we are going to beat them by 9 points. My prediction, put on the board, and then that following Monday, be like, well, Indiana, that whatever, like they weren't anything, and we're going to get blasted by Ohio State, which is the best team that the Big Ten has seen in 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. Like when does this cycle stop to where we go, you know what, wins are wins? Because we keep on saying, oh, winning's hard, but then we actually do it and we find a way to win, and it's like, well, but it was a really sucky win.
Nathan, I am 100% with you because that's exactly what happened last week. And Gary even brought up the point of, he gave me some random score, and I think it was like a 2-point Nebraska win. And he said, would you take that? I said, hell yeah, I would take that. It's a win. It's a win against a Rutgers team that's undefeated. So yeah, I would take that.
It'll change. It'll change when we don't spend as much time on the opponent and more time on Nebraska.
Yeah, and frankly, like, I don't mind it, right? Honestly, like, I think this team, the way they're geared, I prefer them not getting in their own heads, and I prefer them keeping, like, the national media, hey, go ahead and focus on our opponents. Ignore us, please.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind that, but it's frustrating with the local media, but more importantly, like, the fans who are just, like, constantly just crapping over every win. Because this team, listen, last year, the year before, we all know this team is what, 2-4, 3-3 at best, with the exact same talent and the exact same schedule. Because we would have found a way to lose Rutgers, we would have found a way to absolutely crap down Purdue. Do we actually beat Colorado? So for me, 5-1, I'm ecstatic.
Oh, and should not apologize.
Should be.
Nathan, thanks for the call. We'll look into the thievery that's going on at NRG Media.
Yeah, but thanks for thinking of us, man.
Right.
Appreciate that.
All right, that's BS. Jimmy, get to the bottom of that.
Oh yeah,
it's probably Happer.
Yeah, because I don't think
Happer's been stealing our cigars.
I don't think.
I would say Grim, because no one would ever think it's him.
Yeah, but is he a cigar smoker too?
Well, we don't know.
I don't know about the afternoon guys.
Might be Joey. Might be the traffic guys.
Could be Joey. Could be the
Joey.
Peterman.
We'll look into it.
Could be Joey.
It may be a boxer just sitting at the front desk.
Yeah.
Nathan brings up a good point, because it's a little bit weird that you're 5-1 and it's kind of what we do.
He's right. We were 3-3. They were 3-3 at this point last year.
We got something in your pocket. We sift through and go, well, 5-1, but just keep in mind, I do recall that game day, 3 of the panelists picked Rutgers, right? And only 2 picked Nebraska?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Rutgers is a good team. That's a good win. Like you never apologize for winning. I think the national vibe, and even more local, the Illinois game is still sticking with people. But you have a chance, because we have to lay it out here. Indiana's a good team. It's on the road, and they're ranked. And Nebraska hasn't beaten a ranked team since 2016. Matt Rule hasn't beaten a ranked team in a while. Nebraska hasn't beaten a ranked team, well, actually 16 for Matt Rule. Nebraska hasn't beaten a ranked team on the road since 2011. So let's set that in the middle of the week before that game is played next week. Indiana's a good team. Are they a great team? We don't know. We don't even know that about Nebraska. Right. They're a good team. And if you win that game on the road against a ranked team, that is a really, really good win for a second-year head coach in a program that would become bowl eligible. So let's just set that there, and we can work from that. But I do think the way the Illinois game unfolded, because it was seen that film again, still sticks with people more nationally than locally.
I
That's
agree.
just my read.
I 100% agree, because I think the context of that entire game and then the way Nebraska was able to bounce back the next 2 weeks, especially in the second half against what is a bad Purdue team, but the way that Rutgers was built up and the way that, hey, the record alone is what people would cling to and say, man, here's Rutgers sitting there undefeated. But it's the national, I've said this so many times about the national perception of Nebraska football over the last decade is, can you finally trust them? And I think because Illinois was ranked that night and people were still feeling, they are new to the rankings, but they're going into Lincoln on the 400th sellout. Boy, they're going into a buzzsaw, especially if this Nebraska team is a little bit different. And then you see the result, you see how close the game was to losing another close game, then you feel like, it's same old Nebraska. Despite the fact that you came back and you won the next 2 weeks, they're not going to get that trust until they go into a Bloomington.
Yep. Updates coming up next on 1620 The Zone.
Omaha hockey coach Mike Gabinet signs a contract extension through the 27-28 season. A multi-year extension was announced for him in January of 2023 that stretches contract out through next season. After the Mavericks reached the NCAA tournament last season, his contract automatically was extended through the 26-27 season, but they added one more year because why not? Former Mavs player and 2004 graduate Gabinet returned to his alma mater in 2016 as associate head coach before taking over. Before the 17-18 season, they've had a winning record in 4 consecutive seasons while playing in the NCHC. They won 23 games last season, earned an NCAA postseason berth, ranked number 15 heading into their opener Friday at the Las Vegas Icebreaker Tournament. See what they did there. The baseball was very good last night. The Mets beat the Phillies 7-2, and the Padres beat the Dodgers 6-5. Each team hits a grand slam, and it happened all before bedtime. Tonight, the Phils and Dodgers face elimination. Fox is nervous. At 2 o'clock, Guardians-Tigers Game 3 in the D. Also in Nick's garage, kegerator, all set to go. Your ace starter, I guess. So if you had, let's see, that'll be the Charles Nagy. Yeah, we'll go with that. Anyway, 4 o'clock, Phillies-Mets Game 4, Royals-Yankees Game 3 at Kauffman, which will be rocking, and then Dodgers-Padres Game 4 at 8 o'clock with the Dodgers facing elimination. Aaron Rodgers gets his coach fired, though Jets owner Woody Johnson says the decision was all his. Major League Baseball announced yesterday will produce and distribute local games for the Cleveland Guardians, Milwaukee Brewers, Minnesota Twins for next season, signaling that all 3 teams will break away from the bankrupt Diamond Sports Group, so this is Valley. The Rangers will also break away from Diamond, which is 19 months into Chapter 11 reorganization. Congratulations, but is considering other local media options for the 2025 season. The Guardians, Brewers, and Twins will join the Rockies, Diamondbacks, and Padres under the MLB's umbrella. The Diamondbacks and Padres were dropped by Diamond last year. The Rockies were previously affiliated with Warner Brothers, who shut down or sold their regional sports network at the end of 2023. The NCAA's Division I Council has voted to shorten the transfer portal window for FBS and FCS football, as well as men's and women's basketball. The D1 Council reduced the total number of days players in the FBS and FCS can enter the transfer portal from 45 to 30 days, but preserve the spring transfer window. They'll move forward with a 20-day winter transfer window from December 9th, the Monday after conference championship games, through the 28th, and a 10-day spring window, April 16th through 25th. After missing the past 3 games with a forearm injury that required surgery, Shiloh Sanders will return this week against most hated rival Kansas State. That's what Dion confirmed yesterday. The injury occurred during Colorado's squeaker of a loss to Nebraska on September 7th when he got Dante Dowdell. And the Buffaloes have since won 3 straight games to improve to 4-1. So was that the missing link? Maybe they'll lose. Finally, hockey is back. The NHL began its 21-month season last night, with the Blues beating the Kraken in a matinee in Seattle 3-2. The Panthers beat the Bruins 6-4. They raised the banner there. And the team without a mascot wins its first game in Utah's 5-2 win over Nick's Blackhawks. But it's still early in the season. Nobody's been eliminated yet.
Why are y'all looking at me? What the hell?
It's your day.
Blackhawks?
Yeah. Blackhawks. Baseball today. This is the day of Handley.
It's really not my day with the hockey right now. That was... they made it close, but just a lot,
175 more to go.
Of sloppiness early defensively, like mistakes and just simple things like whiffing. Then you're trying to clear the puck. Forecheck was just kicking their ass the whole time. Like they're just, I know they're not going to be good. They're not a playoff team, but you'd like to see some steps forward.
It's one game.
It is one game.
Wow.
Exactly. One game where
it's not like the
basic
Dallas Cowboys.
Functions look like they should be. These are pros, Gary. It was a woeful defensive effort in the first 2 periods.
Patience, Grasshopper.
Man, I'm sad.
It's one game.
Did y'all see Bedard, though, try to pull a Michigan? Got denied, though.
Well, I'll watch him every single night.
He's good. He's freaking good. And he's got a little edginess to him. A big shout out, though, to the – what's that?
You talked yourself into positivity about the Blackhawks.
Here we go.
Trying to bring you back from the ledge.
There's positivity about the Blackhawks, but then there's just the Connor Bedard conversation, which I'm all for it. Cool on the NHL. Like we're talking about Major League Baseball, how they haven't always done the best job of showcasing their young talent. NHL commercial yesterday, they had the Gen Z. That was really cool, man. I really like that. You got McJesus and then Connor Bedard and the whole like, oh, we like screen time. That was a cool little showcase of the new era. The next generation is here. That was pretty sweet. And then you get Sid at the end there. That was good. That was good stuff. Good on you, NHL, because you've got some absolute studs and you've got an entire commercial dedicated for it. That's good stuff.
It was tough I watched the hockey One, because I'm just triggered by the Utah hockey logo, that it's just that. Just call them the Yetis. Okay, just get it over with. But it is hard a little bit to get into the NHL with playoff baseball going on. There's also something tonight down the street here. That's why they call it the Dodge City Derby. Good men's soccer over at Caniglia between Omaha and Creighton. 7 o'clock. That is a really, you know what? We are lucky in this community with the two colleges that play Division I soccer.
Yep.
They have two really good venues to watch soccer.
Yes, they do.
Like you go to Morrison Stadium. I mean, that's a jewel. Then you go to Caniglia, and what they've turned that into, that is a nice place to watch soccer. I imagine the weather's going to be great.
Oh, 85 degrees tonight.
Yeah,
Let's
there
go.
will be a lot of people to watch Omaha Creighton tonight in men's soccer. So they call it the Dodge City Derby for a reason.
Did they schedule it in the bye week on purpose?
Wouldn't
have mattered. It's a Wednesday.
I don't know. Is Omaha football at home? I mean, was the field available? Sorry.
Ouch.
Sorry. I'm just asking. What if I'm not from here? I don't know.
You know, the only year I did PA announcing was their last year, so some would say I killed Omaha football.
Hey, this is a test here on the bye week. Does your son know what a bye week is? Because everybody out there, if you've got young kids and they are telling you that they know the definition of a bye week, you are on the board for Parent of the Year. Because we are in a bye week, and sometimes to our younger fans, that's tough to explain of when they go, Daddy or Mommy, how come blank isn't playing? How come the Skurs aren't playing this week?
That'd be great. First of all, if he just called them the Skurs. That'd
be trigger.
He has heard Dad reference it to Mom that, this works out well because it's on the bye week. Because
then did he go into bye?
Well, I didn't know that one.
Waving
there, but because his birthday's actually a week from today, but the party will be on Saturday. And so,
Thanks for the invite.
Hey, you were supposed to be there for T-ball. You never showed up.
I had something going on.
Every Saturday. He and a couple of people
that at 7:30 in the morning.
No, we weren't. Our first game was 8:30. I think
that's too early.
But we had games at 11.
That's too enough.
We had games at 11.
Oh, by 11, I'm into weekend mode.
You got about
you
a 14-minute window.
You were the one who told me too. You're like, this is going to be some of the most hilarious stuff you're ever going to see. And where were you? Come on, man.
Yeah.
He
like
asked,
watching the White Sox.
He always asks about his Uncle Gary. I said, you know what? Uncle Gary just doesn't like you anymore.
Oh, great.
I didn't say that.
Great. Then I won't show up for the birthday party and he'll really believe it.
Well, yeah. Then I'll be like, where's Uncle Gary? I don't know. He was invited. He just apparently the week slate for college football is more important. So yeah, he does understand that this. I keep saying, gosh, this worked out really well because it's during the bye week. So I don't know if he even understands what the hell that even means, but he knows there'll be other people at his birthday that typically wouldn't be there. So
I think you should explain that. You should explain
Herbie?
Dylan
will be there.
No,
I can't afford that.
To have Dylan at your kid's birthday party?
Yeah, I can't.
Well, you just put an idea in a lot of people's mind. Like what would be?
I'm not the only one who's thought about that.
What would be the most amount of money you'd pay
for Dylan?
I'd come to your kid's birthday party.
I'd probably take the hat off and ask for donations and see what we can come up with.
Would you pay $1,000 to have Dylan Raiola make a 15-minute appearance at your kid's birthday party? And how come players are not doing that this weekend? Like just putting it out there. Like I would take like a guy who I think is funny, who I think is going to be a dude, an absolute dude, but I think he's got a great personality.
See, that's what I'm thinking.
Vincent Shavers.
Okay, yeah.
Or he has 8 birthday parties.
What about
scheduled
Ja'Cory
Saturday?
Barney? I think Ja'Cory Barney would be really fun.
Okay, you could do a pair.
What about
do
Nash?
Shavers and Barney together?
Well, Barney and Raiola are roommates.
Pay him $1,000.
Could you get the roommate discount?
Nash and Ty could do a vaudeville routine for you.
Oh man, I could just see like those guys just carrying like 5 or 6 kids on their
My
shoulders,
little
throwing them in
buttercup.
the bouncy house and all that.
Great NIL opportunity, 1890.
Remember that was the whole thing though, when they had the little platform that you could click on a athlete and say, hey, I'd like them to show up at this thing, and it tells you what the minimum
have
prices.
Extremely popular with young girls and boys is Nebraska volleyball.
Yeah.
Say, hey, Lindsey Krause.
Yeah.
My daughter, you guys happen to be off this weekend. My daughter is having a little get together. How much would it cost for you to show up?
First thing my son would be like, why is she so tall?
Like, what if I'll use one of the more popular guys in the city of Omaha, Ryan Kalkbrenner. How much would you pay as a Creighton basketball fan for Ryan Kalkbrenner to show up at your kid's birthday party? Now he might look a little out of place.
Yeah.
When's Doug's birthday?
Because he's not, and then you have him sit with all the little kids,
right?
And you're like, ooh.
Oddly enough, Gary, this might actually surprise you.
So what
I'd
grade are
pay
you
more
in?
for Kalkbrenner than I would Raiola because I want to see the kids' reaction when Kalkbrenner, that large individual, shows up and they're just like,
Well,
what
I don't
are
know.
you?
I don't know if you guys have seen him lately.
Do you work
but-
with Mr. Handley?
I don't know if you guys have seen Kalkbrenner lately, but he's put on some muscle.
Yeah.
Could he be the offensive and defensive player of the year in the Big East this year?
Could be.
Might be the 4 straight years the defensive player of the year in the Big East. He will be a first-team All-American. He will dominate Hunter Dickinson, Jimmy.
I don't doubt
And
that.
it will just solidify that 11 will be in the rafters. There's my bold prediction less than 4 weeks from the college basketball season.
So he's got marriage strength now, is what you're telling me.
Well, that didn't work out for me.
A lot of us.
Yeah.
Usually we're like, all right, cool. We did what we came here to do. Now we can let it go.
I think I got weaker. I went away and
I know I did.
I went away and the security at my door got very loose. If you know what I mean. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean that, Kalkbrenner. That has nothing to do with you or Raiola or Barney or Vincent Shavers.
Every one of them would be a great option. I think Kalkbrenner would be the best, though, just because he is a very, 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 very tall person. And when little kids see tall people, I don't even know, they're so timid, but they just stare. All they do is just stare at them. And give
You
him
should email
Kalkbrenner's-
Rob today,
And
see
then
if
when
we can make it
Kalkbrenner
happen.
talks because his voice, oh, even better.
Now, who would garner the most in this hypothetical
birthday?
discussion? Tominaga. Come to a kid's birthday party?
Yeah. Hopefully it's got a hoop.
Pay $5,000?
No,
Tominaga to
I'm
show
not
up?
paying $5,000. Well, he's in North Platte, right? I can just, it's not that long of a drive. Just pay for his gas.
Well, he was back for the football game.
Yeah, no. He was working out. He actually might be just working out in Lincoln.
Shooting off the T-shirt gun.
Mm-hmm. Was that for the Northern Iowa?
I think Tominaga would be a better mascot than Herbie. But what do I know? All right. Now we gotta shift gears here because this is an important update. My good friend that is down in Southwest Florida joins us now. Why are you calling us and why are you not evacuated?
Well, I can evacuate. I'm a first responder, so I'm actually sitting outside of a fire station right now.
God bless
All right. Well, you know it's real. I mean, you and I have talked many times over the last couple of days. You know it's real when they move the penguins from the Florida Aquarium in Tampa, and that the Waffle Houses are closing, and the Publixes.
The Waffle Houses?
Oh yeah, the
No
Waffle
pub
Houses
sub
are
today.
closing.
That is a telltale sign when Waffle House is shut down. The Glaziers actually flew the Bucks out. What is today? Wednesday. So the Bucks family, dogs, pets, everything. The Glaziers flew all them to New Orleans yesterday.
Yeah, it's of the cities in Florida, Tampa, St. Pete, because of the way it's built, is not ideal for what's coming.
Well, I don't know if you've seen the last track or not, but it's actually looks like, Gary, it's going to make landfall right about the Venice area. And that's not good for where I'm at. And that's not good for Venice because, you're familiar with Venice, the island is very, very old infrastructure.
Yep.
And if they get the 120 mile an hour winds and the storm surge that they're talking about, things are going to be a lot different around here after this.
Yeah. And for a lot of people don't know this terminology, but some will get it. If you're on the dirty side of a hurricane, that's not good. And that's going to be that's where our homes are located.
Oh boy.
So
yeah, they got it kind of coming in right about SRQ Airport, and I know a week ago I said this is a little bit of old hat, but this is a storm we haven't seen before, and there's people above me who are a little bit nervous, so that that tells me a lot right there.
yeah. So be safe, my friend. I know that you are going to help people that are in danger. I just can't believe because TV stations and national news will lead these stories on these friggin' idiots that say, hey, I'm going to write it out. You know what? I like what the mayor of Bradenton said. Write all your contact information on your arm so when we pick up your dead body, we know who to contact. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is idiotic. You're idiotic to deal with this because this mother is a 4 and 5 range.
Well, and I always say this to people, as a first responder, I don't do you no good if I'm dead, and I ain't going to die trying to get to you.
That's a great line. I know it's going to hammer when it makes landfall. The only saving grace, if there's anything out of it coming through Florida, is there's going to be a wide swath that will go straight across Lake Okeechobee. And in the muck, there are very poor communities around there, but the majority of it is swampland, fortunately.
Yeah, once it gets past us, it's going to be in some less populated areas. We're talking about Hardee County, DeSoto County, Arcadia, Wauchula, but it's going to ramp up again, they think, once it gets over there to the eastern coast of the state, which is pretty populated around Daytona, Jacksonville, Melbourne area.
Yeah. Well, not being there, but having property, my anxiety is a little bit rough today. So I appreciate the call. Let's stay in touch, and you're doing God's work, my friend.
I appreciate it. Go Big Red.
Yep, that's Dave, Southwest Florida.
Speed, man.
Yep. So Hurricane Milton is barreling towards the Gulf Coast. So Venice, there is Sarasota, Bradenton, Venice along there before you get up into the Tampa, St. Pete area. But it's not going to be good. Not going to be good at all. So if you I know we have a lot of people that have friends or parents that have maybe relocated, retired down in that area. Just make sure that they are evacuated, because this is nothing to mess with. And I about lost my mind last night. I'm watching the national news, and they got a guy that, he's like in a little dinghy out in the bay. He's like, I'm going to ride this out. I'm like, you are an idiot. Okay, what are you trying to prove?
Right.
See you in the next life, brother.
Hey, I saw what Hurricane Ian did to a community that I loved 2 years ago in Fort Myers. This is nothing to mess with. And so I'm hoping for the best. But this, as Dave was alluding to, and I told the story yesterday, my neighbor, who is a cracker, right? He grew up in Florida. He's one of the rare people that have lived Florida his entire life. And he goes, this one scares me. And he's been through 8 significant hurricanes. So
yeah, when they say
thoughts and
that,
prayers.
We're talking 15-foot storm surge?
Yeah,
at minimum.
Yeah.
Well, and you can do the science on that. That's devastating.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break here. We'll come back, kind of reset the show a little bit. We'll get in. I got this stat about Indiana, and I've also got a stat that was presented to Kirk Ferentz yesterday that is like, whoa, by the Iowa media ahead of their game against Washington. We'll do that when we come back. Bill Bender from the Sporting News will join us coming up at the top of the hour. Jay Moore, Brandon Vogel stop by on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Kickoff is here. Football officially back with Underdog Fantasy. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. You can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player's stats, like touchdowns, passing yards. You get the idea. I won a little bit of money. This is a big deal. Not enough to retire, but we're on our way. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code ZONE, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code ZONE to claim your new customer special of a free pick. And your deposit offer must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
officially the most wonderful time of year. It's Vallis season. Vallis is open through November 3rd and has family fun you know and love, including 2 new rides this year's Fria's Egg Spinner. Someone's going to have to tell us how that is. Tim's Runaway Grain Train as well. Don't forget about the delicious food like fresh pies, caramel apples, kettle corn, turkey legs, and more. And if you missed your chance with your big deal going on last week, well, this is your last chance to score free passes into Vallis Pumpkin Patch. Enter to win online at 1620thezone.com.
You mean it's not soup season?
Not yet. I'm waiting for
Monday,
it, though.
did you see that? While you were looking for the cigars that have been stolen from us, 59 on, was Monday or Tuesday? Or
60 on Sunday, 59 on Monday. But I'm going to need Rusty to explain this to me. He had chili at 60, but then 59 was cold. So anything below 60 is considered
like
cold.
Florida.
We're talking about 1 degree there, buddy.
That is cold.
That's what they told me in Miami. Anything below 60, actually it was below 70.
That's comfortable.
Well, like if you go to the beach and it's 60 out, the only people at the beach are visitors.
Yeah.
People aren't going to the beach. That's cold.
Yeah.
We're in Parkas.
No, I like my college basketball weather in the morning, and I like my college football weather in the afternoon. That's what we're going to get today. But I don't know. People are like, let's start soup season early. I didn't know there was an official start to soup season.
I think soup season's all about the temperature.
Yeah, I'm not eating soup in the middle. Do you eat soup? Do you slurp soup? Do you scoop soup in the middle of the summer?
Fair.
No, I'm not doing that.
It's chili and cornbread season. That might be something this weekend.
Thank you.
Not the cinnamon rolls.
No, cornbread.
I don't want to get in a debate because this happened to me a while back about chili and soup, and chili is soup. No, chili's its own thing. Yes, chili is more hearty.
Well, if you add way too much water, it becomes soup.
Yeah, people are like, oh, yeah, it got soupy. Well, yeah, because chili's not supposed to be soupy, hence not a soup.
This is for the older crowd. I think we missed a phase in naming kids after soupy sales. Just saying. Just an observation. Just a random Wednesday bye-week observation
Think
by
about
yours
your first
truly.
day of school and they're doing roll call and someone's like, Soupy Anderson? Am I saying that right? Is Soupy? Present.
And it's
Poor
not
kid.
a nickname. It's your real name.
Yeah, real name.
Yeah. Before I throw out this interesting stat about Indiana, watching highlights from Citi Field where it was electric. I don't know if it's the Miracle Mets or the Magical Mets, but Pete Alonso is on one, and Sean Manaea is going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Alonso and Manaea are going to make some money off this series, but the Phillies and the Dodgers are on the brink. The great thing I love about baseball that I missed during COVID is it's just there for you. Like every day there is a game on, and it's like a routine. Baseball is a routine, 162 games over about 180 days, but every day it is on, and you get used to it. And sometimes in baseball, because they play so many games, day to day becomes irrelevant.
Yep.
You know, you kind of check out at the beginning of you check into the beginning of the season. Dog days, you're like, you know, after the All-Star break, that's when I go on vacation and not pay attention. But then you hop back into it in September, and then of course in October, and the playoff baseball has delivered. The one thing I love about this time of the year is that baseball becomes a completely different viewing experience, and baseball goes from 0 to 60 like that.
Yep.
In terms of October baseball. And then, you know, like the NFL, not as much. The NHL, yes. And the NBA, yes. But it just seems like baseball is more, because they play more games, 0 to 60 more than anybody in the Big Four in their postseason.
Oh, yeah. And I think a lot of that honestly has to do with, even though the home crowds in the wild card series last week would tell you a different story, there's something about, especially when we get off of work or when you're going to work or you're going to lunch and there's baseball on and it's meaningful baseball on. That gets the blood going.
We have 4 games today.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
2:08, I'm going to be dialed in.
Yeah. And for the Kansas City fans, now, mind you, this is also the Yankee bump as well, getting the 6 o'clock start. I've now
Perfect for me.
come to the realization that if there is ever competition going on, unless Cleveland is playing the Yankees, Cleveland's always getting the first game.
That's all right, though. Day baseball.
Yeah, I'm getting a little tired of day baseball. I wouldn't mind getting a primetime game every now and then.
Next round.
You are the Houston Texans of the playoff schedule.
Absolutely.
Saturday, 3:30.
The Houston Texans are always going to play, and even probably now with their better team.
Yeah.
They're going to play the 3:30 Saturday kickoff, the postseason in the
Yes,
NFL.
absolutely.
With
they are.
Paul Burmeister.
That's what
Iron
you are.
Eagle.
The one that you wake up and you forget, oh, yeah, there's a game at 3:30 today on this weird NFL weekend. Yes, Cleveland is always that team. They were that way when they played Houston in that series. They were that way when they played Tampa Bay in 2022. And, again, I'm rooting for the Royals in this series.
So is America.
By the time you get to the
Yankees
ALCS,
lose, America wins. You want America to
yes,
win.
I do want America to win. ALCS will actually give them their first primetime bump. But yes, knowing that they're playing Detroit, there was no
Plus the
way.
Dodgers are
Now
playing
tomorrow they'll play as close to a primetime game as possible. 5:00 Central Time start.
Hey, that's nighttime for some people.
Oh, it's nighttime out on the East Coast.
Cleveland and Detroit are struggling. They can't afford to turn lights on.
Yeah.
I mean, the baseball is looking out for them.
It gets cold in those
I'm
cities.
sure that's what it is, yes.
I'm just, credit to Manfred. Manfred, smart guy. Really, really smart guy.
He's a man of the people.
Going to have an issue, though. The umpire's contract is up. That's the next thing.
Uh-oh.
You want robo-umps or challenges?
Is that why that's happening right now? Oh, my God, the strike zone this postseason. Ooh.
Yeah. I'm not into robo-umps. I'm into more of you should be able to challenge. But umpires' contracts are up. So that's going to get dicey because baseball wants one thing, umpires don't want. You mean to tell me that I got to stand there and call a challenge out in Philadelphia in a 3-2 game in the postseason in the bottom of the eighth? Yeah, that ain't happened to my umps. It's gonna watch that. That's the next thing on baseball's plate in terms of bargaining.
Well, and you've seen this. I was explaining it to a buddy of mine and how that works. You've seen it when you're out at Winter Park. And the last game that we went to this year, there were probably within 3 or 4 innings, there had to. It felt like at least 10 challenges, and they all went to the hitter. I mean, that's a tough pill to swallow when you're an umpire and you're sitting there basically taking your medicine on. Yep, I missed that one. 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 Yeah, that's there's some pride that's involved. I can understand that, but
sounds like Enrico Palazzo.
This strike zone. I mean, there's been some bad misses. So bring them on. Let them challenge it.
We'll see tonight. The impact of the home crowd. The K is going to be great. They're going to be. It was cool to see all the the signage up, and the field has postseason bunting painted on it.
We got to put our bunting out.
I won't have it.
You do that. You do that at your house.
We did that in 14, 15. We did it in 17 on our balcony. We had bunting out. It was great.
One final thing on the Royals.
I don't have any bunting. I have flags.
We'll save that for the podcast. There is the thing about Kansas City, and I say this because there's a lot of people that are going to the game tonight, are going to be down there for the next 2 days, and it's not going to last that much longer. There is the uniqueness of that the Royals and the Chiefs are across the parking lot from each other.
Yeah.
Not downtown and one is out by the racetrack.
Yep.
That they, back in the 70s, they had the idea of let's put them right next to each other, not share the same stadium. Like we saw the circular Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati cookie cutters.
But a sports complex.
A sports complex where a football stadium and a baseball stadium are right next to each other. It's so unique that you have your your only two professional franchises in Kansas City are right next to each other.
Yeah.
They are separated by a parking lot, and then underneath they are separated by a tunnel that connects them. That is so unique.
Yeah.
And then both franchises have a relationship, and ironically, they're both the Royals coming back have kind of joined what the Chiefs have done. But then you also have two of the significant players in that sport are in the same town, the size of Kansas City, which is not a top 20 TV market.
Yeah, and he'll be there. And there is, you're right, there's something always cool, especially in the World Series run and in the playoff run the year before, seeing that you always get the overhead shots of the stadium, but then you get the lower third lights on at Arrowhead. So then it illuminates that as well. And something about just those red seats when it's blown up in the overhead shots, it's pretty cool. And hey, you know what? Anybody who's ever been to a Royals game or a Chiefs game too, you have to appreciate the other thing that you bring up right there, and that is with the two venues right there means a huge, massive parking lot, which makes for one of the great tailgate environments because you got nothing else around there.
Yeah.
You have to tailgate.
What did you guys think of Nebraska's response the first time they trailed in a game this year?
would have been the Illinois game. So, wait.
No.
It wasn't the Illinois. Oh, Purdue. Yeah. It was good. I've liked it. Down 3-0.
Let's see where this goes.
So, but so this is where it's leading me on Nathan's call a little bit ago. I was watching Dylan.
Yeah. She's wet.
A little bit ago about Indiana. So Nebraska hasn't played from behind. We kind of know when they're in a detention convention game, things got a little sideways. Still more, in my opinion, Nebraska did it to themselves than Illinois did it to Nebraska. You can argue with me. Washington probably says the same thing the way they lost against Rutgers. But at the end of the day, it's an L. You move on. So Nebraska trailed 3-0 to Purdue coming out of the locker room to begin the second half in West Lafayette 2 weeks ago. What did they do? They went right down the field and scored. And then they scored again. So they gained game control, but their response for the first time, being behind, they didn't panic.
Yeah.
And they're going to go into a stretch here where I'm not oblivious to the fact that they are going to have to play from behind. And how will that impact everybody on this year's roster? You know, because last year, in when they got to November, they would play from behind, but it wasn't like a deficit. Like, how is this team built? Is this team built where they could come from behind by 10 points? So why I say this is because I think it shows your identity of, okay, when you're down, what's your response? Alabama was leading against Georgia. All of a sudden they were down. What was their response?
Yeah, come right back and score.
And then you saw what was their response the following week when they trailed to Vandy. What did they do? Did they get helter-skelter with play calling? Did guys lose their mind? Yes and yes.
Yeah.
So the really good teams, all right, when we're down, we look exactly the same. Hey, so they scored. Kudos, tip your cap. They're up 7-0, but we're still going to do our thing.
Yeah, it doesn't change it.
You know that Indiana is one of 3 teams in FBS that has not trailed in a game?
Must be nice.
They've rolled through their schedule, and their schedule is what it is, and they've handled it appropriately. And I'm not going to poo-poo 6-0 because winning is hard. And you go, okay, you're 6-0. And there are plenty of ways to look at their 6-0 and how they got there and game control and all that kind of stuff. But keep that in mind in this game next Saturday is somebody's going to be up because that's what happens. You have winners, you have losers, and sometimes, like when you score first and you have the ball first, you have a lead.
Right.
It's wild. But Indiana hasn't been punched yet where this whole feels really good, doesn't it? We're dancing. We're loving. People are Googling me. They know who I am. Man, they don't even know how to pronounce my name. They're wondering, why didn't your parents spell Kurt with a K? But Indiana hasn't trailed. So that would be a mystery among other things is how will Indiana react to the attention?
Yeah.
A better opponent, the best opponent they played all year, the best defense by far they played all year. And remember, they live on the high wire of scoring a lot of points.
Yep.
All right, it's all about points, ma'am. And they've added, it's about yards, sir. But also, what if Nebraska goes on the road, sold out crowd? People are going, let's get Nebraska. We beat them before. We don't have to fake injuries this time. We got a good team. And all of a sudden, Nebraska on the road, because I think this is important on the road, not to chase points. All of a sudden, Nebraska leads. Think about that on what will Indiana do because they've gone 6 straight weeks where they've been feeling pretty good. Guys, when they go to the varsity at night, are like they are batting 1,000 and they are going home with the cutest co-eds on both arms. Will that co-ed come and get on their arm when they trail for the first time? They're like, loser.
Yeah, you're front running team.
I don't know. They're one of 3 teams, and that's impressive. But man, if I was Indiana, I'd be like, I'd like to keep that streak going. But what happens if we fall behind 7-0? What happens if Nebraska drives down the field and scores right away? How do we react?
Well, and Justin brings us up in the stream. Technically, yeah, Nebraska was down 7-0 to Illinois. How'd they respond in that one too?
They lost.
No. But the next drive,
yes,
they tied up. And then if we're still using the Illinois game, okay, I think overtime's a separate thing.
We're going to use the Illinois game until we are forced not to.
Overtime is a separate thing in my opinion because it is just. Yes, they were trailing in overtime, and then that was as bad as it gets. That's an overtime.
You're being kind. That was a god awful stretch of Nebraska football that should never be repeated.
I'm sorry, I repeated it. This part, I like this conversation because it also leads me to believe, you know who else I'm hoping is having this conversation, especially as they get into next week? Nebraska's defense. Because that's another big part of that equation of, it's one thing to get down to a team. Are you getting down to a team that does have a defensive identity? Like there is a defense that they see that opportunity of, okay, hammer down on this next drive. It's the same thing when...
Well, there's also part of this conversation of what happens if the defense has a bad day at the office and you're behind? Do you trust Nebraska's offense to be able to keep up, to go score for score? If they're forced to go score for score, remember, this is an Indiana team that through their first 6 games, where they played who was on the schedule, okay? Not their fault that UCLA is garbage.
Or
not their fault that Northwestern hung around for a while. Not their fault that Maryland is waiting for basketball season. But they average 47.5 a game. So what's your trust level if in a game where a shootout? I think we all have a trust level of if this game is played like the Big Ten, Nebraska's got a chance.
Yeah.
But is Nebraska built to play Big 12 football?
Right.
Because I'm going to bring Alabama back into the conversation because that's what we do. Alabama and Nebraska need to be in the same conversation. Is Alabama's going, man, we all of a sudden are playing Big 12 football and we're not built for it.
Mm-hmm. And this is going to sound kind of crazy though. By the way, thank you, Bob Costas. It's not your fault. This is going to sound kind of crazy.
How did Bob Costas get into this?
Because he kept saying it's
everywhere.
It's not Indiana's fault that they played this team. It's not Indiana's fault that they played that team.
Oh, I thought you were going to go into Bill Murray for meatballs. Your fault.
Yeah. Yes. Oddly enough, because of what Nebraska can do between the 20s, I have more. Well, this goes without saying.
You're about to tell me. You're about to lead me into this conversation of, man, 37-yard field goal look pretty good about right now.
It's what they do inside the 20. And hey, the fact that they were 2 for 2 in the red zone against Rutgers is that's something to me. The creativity and what they can do from a big play standpoint between the 20s, I wouldn't bet the house on it, but they have it in them. I think this offense has it in them where they could keep up to the point that you just need your defense to make a couple of key stops if they're having a bad day at the office.
So
they're going to have to make stops.
So this is kind of, and I think this is just an October discussion about, and I've said Nebraska, I think, is capped at 28 points against Power 4 competition. They're capped at 28. 4 touchdowns most games in the Big Ten should get you a win, right?
Yeah.
Really, I think the only 2 games where you might have to go score for score if your defense is having a bad day at the office are the next 2 games.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Don't come at me, men of Troy, about USC and your offense, because you know what I'm going to come at you at? You scored 17 on a Minnesota defense that Iowa, with their prolific wall-to-wall banger offense, scored 31.
Interference.
You're not going up and down the field. You haven't convinced me.
Right.
So the next 2 games is more about the defense or the offense.
Mm-hmm.
That's where this kind of playing from behind or grabbing a lead. But there's also part of having a lead is adding to it.
Yep.
That's the next step of this football team that is, I think, doing a better job of finding ways to win than to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they're 5-1, so there's only 1 loss. But once you get a lead, can you expand that lead? So you're up 7-0.
Rutgers, yeah.
Now you're up 10-0. Okay? Now it's 10-3. But you're up now 17-3. And you don't have Madison all over again because they don't have Melvin Gordon. See what I'm and presenting these scenarios now is you go into the second half of the season where the next 2 teams are going to be amongst the best quarterbacks outside of Shedeur, and he had a bad day at the office because of Nebraska defensively. Of the Tony White era, you're going to face back-to-back two of the better off. Now, I'm not going to say quarterbacks because I'm still not convinced that Will Howard can win a game on his own. But Rourke is a good college quarterback. But at the offense as a whole, these will be 2 of the better offenses that Tony White in 2 years has faced.
Yeah, I would agree. And you look at the last 2 games too, what Nebraska has done to the example that you bring up or to the point that you're bringing up there is when they scored right before halftime to make that a 14-0 game. We can talk about the second half and what didn't happen, but being able to turn that into a 2-score game right before half, the way the defense was playing, that felt extremely significant.
It's important. Nebraska's been good at the end of the first half.
Yes, they have.
Some 2-minute offense and finding a way to get points.
And we talk a lot about the middle eight. So what are you doing when you come out in the third quarter?
The middle eight.
So the other part about the Purdue game, the being down 3-0, not only did you come right back and score, but then you went back and scored again. Then you get the defense involved in the defensive score too. And before you know it, that thing is over. The other part about this game that I think is interesting, I want to go back to what you said as far as Indiana trailing. If you get them in a position where they're trailing, and I'm sure there's a lot of Indiana fans that are very curious about that too.
Oh, I think the great thing about that game is we're all curious.
Yeah.
How good is Nebraska?
Absolutely.
And is Nebraska is Nebraska as good as the Illinois game, or is Nebraska better than that? Indiana's probably going, all right, here we go. Last 6 games. This isn't a trap game. We're fine.
Well, think about this.
And by the way, that's kind of the chatter in Bloomington, which is odd. That Ohio State looks at Nebraska's trap game more than Indiana does.
Yeah, okay.
What are we doing here, folks?
If this game, say, was to go back and forth a little bit, and all of a sudden Nebraska takes the lead 21-14, I think about it now. Hey, we're right in the thick of the playoff baseball action, so I'll use the baseball analogy too. When you've got a game going back and forth and you get a guy that is able to produce big time at bat, drives in the go-ahead run, what do you want to see in the very next inning, in the next half inning, the shutdown inning? That's what this defense is going to be tasked with. They might have some bad series. They might give up some big plays. But if they get to a point in this game where all of a sudden your offense gives you the lead, then you need that shutdown drive. And that's the one thing, even with a bad day at the office, that is the thing more than anything out of all of the matchups that we'll be getting into, obviously a lot more next week too. The thing that I feel more confident in is Nebraska defensively, regardless of what type of day 1 through 4 quarters they're playing, they have that in them. They can give you that shutdown series.
Yeah, but you're not going to say that about the offense. We don't know. Nebraska hasn't played 4 quarters of offense all year.
That is very true. But
throughout the UTEP game there,
yeah.
I mean, that was everybody and their brother got to play.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Middle
Take
third
that away.
quarter, they played 2.5 quarters because that's all they were asked to play. But yeah, I think that
Northern Iowa, they were better offensively than people give them credit for. But you didn't have to play 4 quarters.
Right.
4 quarters against Power 4 teams.
I just think that defense, if it does come down to having that shutdown series and being able to not allow Indiana to have any type of momentum coming back, I trust that Nebraska, even if it's not their greatest day at the office, they can still get that done. And that, to me, that's going to be huge. Going back to your original question, your original point of what does that do then to the Indiana sideline? What does that do to their psyche of crap? We've been able to score anytime we want to. They just took the lead. We just got shut down there.
They might have a coach that has a swag that's like, yeah, this is great. This is great.
Maybe.
This is what we live for.
Are the players?
Or they're front runners.
Exactly.
All right. Coming up top of the hour, Bill Bender from Sporting News at 1620 The Zone. All right, Bill Bender of the Sporting News talks some college football. Also his kids' flag football team. That's coming up at 8. Bill lives in Columbus, Ohio. Let's do a little pressure here. Pressure cooker. Dylan Gabriel, Ryan Day, Lincoln Riley. Most pressure of those three this weekend. Or me over a 3-foot putt to win $250 in a little thing this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, good luck on that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're
built for this.
I'll get the Chuck Knobblocks. All right, Dylan Gabriel, Ryan Day, Lincoln Riley. Pressure this weekend.
Lincoln Riley.
Yeah. Ryan Day's close.
My guy's got to hate on a guy that's
Ryan
lost
Day's
7 of
close.
his last 12 games.
Ryan Day's won these games, though.
Hey.
Ryan Day's won these games. It's that Michigan game. So, yeah, I'm going to go Lincoln Riley.
I think you guys love Dylan Gabriel, and I don't.
I'm not saying Dylan Gabriel is blameless in all this or pressureless in all this. He's not been playing up to the standard that they need him to play at and what he's shown.
Has Dylan Gabriel, does he have a standard? Or is it just because he played at Oklahoma for, Venables, or he was really good before his other stop? Now he's on his third school. I watch them. Now, I think Oregon has gotten better. I don't think he has.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
He leaves a lot to be desired.
Get me into the red zone. Nebraska can't make a field goal. Dylan Gabriel throws an interception. I think Dylan Gabriel is overrated.
Okay. Look,
if you go inside of his numbers at Oklahoma last year, where did he do most of his work? Against teams that are directional.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
When I saw him, he didn't look good.
I think there's some pressure on him because Oregon's at home. Ohio State has to travel so far.
Well, and consider who he's replacing, too.
I mean, I don't know if Ohio State will make their connection to DIA. And if they don't, that's going to screw up their weekend. I would go Dylan Gabriel. Now, I'm not saying Lincoln Riley or Ryan Day is out on this. There's, one absolute. But Dylan Gabriel's got to have himself a big Saturday night. I'm probably not going to join the Dylan Gabriel for president group anytime soon. I'm not going to put up a green dot on my deck to support Dylan Gabriel in Oregon.
Maybe I'm saying that because I don't expect him to, because I think Ohio State wins this game. I don't expect him to have this monstrous game. That's just,
but to win, I mean, people are expecting Oregon to win.
Are they?
Yeah.
I'm not.
In Eugene?
Whoa.
I think a lot of people feel Ohio State is the better team. They're going into Oregon and they're winning this football.
I think if they're picking Oregon, they're like, okay, Oregon.
Okay, you know what, though?
And you know what? It's Ryan Day.
I'll entertain this, though. Remember what you just said about Will Howard?
Good enough? Is Will Howard good enough to win a game? That's what I said.
Yeah. And
win a big game, a game that matters.
Right. Where he's actually a big part of that, too.
But he doesn't need to be.
Interception.
I mean, they can run the ball forever.
Here's the thing.
Maybe not on Saturday night, though.
If Dylan Gabriel if Oregon and Ohio State find themselves in a bit of a shootout here, and Will Howard is making bigger plays than Dylan Gabriel, okay, that's a bad look for Dylan Gabriel because Will Howard has never been talked about as that type of quarterback, a guy that's going to be in the next level and is going to be a big-time guy.
Will Howard has never been mentioned. You're right. Will Howard's never been mentioned for the Heisman. Dylan Gabriel
is. So, yes, from that standpoint.
I thought I was going to get some pineapple because I'm a Heisman Trophy voter.
You haven't got anything?
No, because why would I get Oregon's smart? They're like, I'm going to promote that guy. That guy's got some inflated numbers.
They haven't put up the Joey Harrington billboard yet?
I actually think their backup is better.
Which would be weird. Ooh.
Ooh,
the backup.
Starting quarterback at UCLA last year.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Moore's going to be a dude.
I still think, though, and the reason I will put Lincoln Riley squarely in this is, all right, with the loss to Michigan, people were still looking at USC with some reverence, saying, man, okay, this is a team that they played a physical team now, and they were able to withstand. They lost a really good college football game. Then you played an extremely lesser version of Michigan when it comes to what they want to do. Similar things, but less talent. And they got beat up. They got punched. And so now they're outside, but with another golden opportunity at home to take on a Penn State game, which I'm surprised you didn't throw James Franklin into this mix as well, even though this isn't a ranked team.
Lincoln, it would be worse for Lincoln to lose this week.
If you win this game, well, it puts people, you're able to completely say that was a one-off last week. We're much better than what we showed. Penn State puts it on you at home, even though there'll be a lot of Nittany Lion fans there. Yeah. All of a sudden, you're looking at a team that's 500. You're looking at a USC team that at one point, when they had
Yeah, but probably the way I'm looking at it is I'm over Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley is
So
who
are
Lincoln
they.
Riley is.
Okay.
Listen, he found out, welcome to the Big Ten, you got screwed by the officials with a raving lunatic on the other sideline Saturday night. Okay?
I freaking love you!
You scored 17 points on Minnesota. Minnesota gave up 31 to Iowa.
Yep.
Okay? The junior Skyhawks might score on Minnesota's defense. Just saying. So I'm off the Lincoln Riley train.
Okay.
31 for Iowa's like 60 for everyone else.
Lincoln, Sam Pittman, Billy Napier, Hugh Freeze. Who else?
Just a hot seat?
Are all 5-7 in the last 12 games. Oh, and Lincoln Riley.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm
that's fine. That's your opinion.
I'm not riding the Troy.
I feel like he still gets a lot of that
one.
attention. He still gets a lot of that conversation when you think about all the college football coaches that people still like to mention Lincoln Riley. And I think now you're at a point in the transition into the Big Ten, but also what they failed to do a year ago. And a lot of people are saying, well, he made the decision for who the defense coordinator was, but it wasn't his defense. He made a switch. He's got now a better defensive coordinator. That I still think all of this still falls on Lincoln Riley as far as the conversations that people have around him. So this loss going 500, even in the big bad Big Ten that people thought was going to be a transitional year, after everybody saw that LSU victory and you saw the way that their offense and even their defense has played, even in that Michigan game, people thought, man, there might be more to USC. They could be that fourth team in the Big Ten to possibly be around for a college football playoff berth. Well, they're 3-2. You go to 3-3, you're done. You're absolutely done. And that I think is going to reflect and really turn things on Lincoln Riley.
Wouldn't it be different if USC was favored in that game?
Sure. But I still think this is response time. USC fans want to see, okay, response time. You had a inexcusable loss last week on the road. We need to know that's not who you are. You lose this game, people are still searching of what this team could ultimately accomplish, and that's on Lincoln Riley's tab.
It'd be great for Nebraska fans if USC loses. Those people that tried to buy up the tickets before Nebraska fans did to sell at the Coliseum might be selling them to you.
They probably would. Yes, they would. So I don't. I just still think that the Lincoln Riley part of it
one team is number 4. The other team is not ranked.
I know, but this is a great opportunity. And for these opportunities that you have to show that last week was a fluke and you're still a good coach and this is a good football team in 2024, this is your opportunity.
You lost to Minnesota that might struggle to make a bowl game, and you lost to what will be an 8-4 Michigan team.
Yeah, but still. I
think we got to be honest about USC. Where USC football
and that's fine. I don't think you're wrong about where
Stop looking at the letters, man. Let's look at the performance.
Mm-hmm.
The performance tells me they're 5-7 in the last 12 games, and the head coach hasn't changed.
You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. But I'm also going off of how people continue to talk about Lincoln Riley as one of the better coaches in college football. I don't get it.
I think we're listening to the wrong channel. I think we're listening to different channels.
Maybe we are.
Because I don't hear people talking about that. They don't talk about them on game day.
Tell me I got to quit watching Big Ten Live.
Support the brand.
I try.
All right, Bill Bender. Well, we'll pose this question to him because probably secretly he has wondered about USC. Penn State, by the way, 10-1, last 11 against the spread as a favorite on the road.
5.5.
All right, mornings with Sharp and Handley. Bill Bender from Sporting News next on 1620 The Zone. All right, week 7 of the college football season. There are some really, really good games. The Big Ten will be on display. So that means let's go to Big Ten country. Our good friend, Bill Bender of the Sporting News, one of the nicest guys in the business, one of the guys that gives us some of his time, joins us now. Good morning, Bill.
I don't know if my fifth grade girls basketball team would say I'm the nicest guy in the business.
Are they running suicides and gassers?
No, we had fun. I'm making a joke there. I will tell you this. I told this story last year. As you guys know, I'm in Central Ohio, and I had 10 girls on my team last year. 9 of them became Caitlin Clark fans, but I had one holdout, big Buckeye fan. Her family was. She was like, she whines to the officials. She's not as good as that. So some families teach them right.
Now, are you still coaching your son's football team?
You know what? I'm not coaching football. I'll help with basketball, but they're having a lot of fun this year in junior high. He plays like 5 different positions. He played a little quarterback this weekend, and it's hard. I don't know how QB dads do it. Like, I wasn't like, get the ball. I was like, don't get sacked, don't get hurt. That's how I handle it. Not great throw along the way. He's a good kid.
Is there any okay? So what I'm hearing you is you get out of the way a little bit. You let the other people coach, but do you have a little film study, film breakdown? Because I mean, you're kind of involved in that world too.
No, we talk about it in the car.
Oh, okay.
We were laughing. So his mom will take some videos, and then I'm like, here's where you might want to get the ball out a little quicker. I actually go the other way. I say, like, for him, and I don't know if like actual high school QB dads do this, I would say, you know what? I want you to throw that one and take a chance instead of hold it and take a sack. We're down a couple touchdowns. Why not let it rip and have fun? And I think that's what we try to impress on him. Now, that's not going to get me a job in the FBS because some of these guys, you want them to throw the ball wet.
Let's start here as Bill Bender of the Sporting News joins us. We're going to go through 1 through 134. So you give us a number and we'll start there with your rankings that you do every week. And I'm kidding, of course, but I want to start at the top. You are in a area where it is Ohio State, and Ohio State has done everything they can do. Now they get the test in Eugene on Saturday night. There's also Texas gets the test in a rivalry game against Oklahoma. If I gave you Texas and Ohio State in this year of 2024 college football, they would be considered really great or elite. Would you agree? And is there anybody else that is like in that category right now?
I love that you phrased it that way because it's kind of how I thought about last weekend. Because right now, Ohio State and Texas, the word I would use is complete. Both of those teams have been complete. I watched Ohio State. I was at Ohio State, Iowa over the weekend. They're pretty good all the way across the board. They don't. I think their offensive line gets questioned a little bit. They answered that against Iowa. And Texas has the one advantage Texas would have over Ohio State by position group is obviously quarterback. When you have a first-round guy hurt and then a Manning step in, and Arch Manning has a 200.4 passer rating. So that's not bad. And I think we're going to find out a lot about both. But when you say elite, how are we really going to try to pass off Alabama as elite or Georgia, who has averaged yards rushing the last 3 weeks? I don't know that there's an elite team behind them, and that's the opportunity for Oregon this weekend against the Buckeyes.
We were talking about some of the great games, but you have Penn State, USC, Ohio State, and Eugene, Oregon, and the pressure rankings as it goes with some of those games. And Gary asked the question of who has the most pressure. You throw in Lincoln Riley, you throw in Ryan Day, you throw in Dylan Gabriel. Did you say Will Howard as well? No.
We left him on the side.
Okay, all right. Out of those three, though, who would you put into most pressure this weekend?
You know what? I'm going to go off with the unexpected answer. I'd say Lincoln Riley.
Okay.
Because
Nick went.
They already lost 2 Big Ten games. And I have a story coming out here either today or tomorrow, depending on when it goes up. It's this cross-country travel between the Big Ten and the former Pac-12 schools is a real thing. And it's not a new real thing. It is, I went back and looked, from 2000 to 2023, current Big Ten schools versus those former Pac-12 schools, the former Pac-12, they were 10-31 in regular season road games. So that's my way of saying, like, Michigan losing at Washington wasn't a surprise to me. I don't know that they've adjusted. I think the travel for these Midwest schools, maybe not Nebraska, it's a little bit closer. But when you go from Penn State all the way out to the Coliseum, they haven't played a West Coast game since 1991. So if Lincoln Riley loses this one, he's going to feel it.
Let's stay in the Big Ten. Because it's a bye week around here, and Nebraska football really well. You're one of the better national guys that understand Nebraska football. They got a bye week going against Indiana. There is Illinois that is sitting there that has beaten Nebraska in Lincoln. There is Michigan, but Michigan's coming off that weekend. Take out Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State. How would you assess, Bill, the next tier in this conference right now?
Well, the Indiana-Nebraska game's huge because the winner of that game's number 4, in my opinion. And I know Nebraska lost to Illinois. I understand that. But I think Illinois, you look at their schedule, they may have a little bit of tougher time. Nebraska wins that game, and it won't be easy because Kirk Cignetti's got them rolling with Ohio transfer Curtis Rourke at quarterback. They're averaging 48.8 points per game. But if Nebraska can win that game and build some momentum toward their shot at the shoe, I may go check that one out because I want to see where Nebraska is compared to Ohio State. I was there the last time they played in prime time. It was a particularly ugly game for the Huskers, and you knew they weren't on the same even zip code.
Mm-hmm.
Has Nebraska pushed at least into – I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State, but I want to see how far they can compete with them, and that would be the next step for Matt Rule. It's a really good Nebraska team. We got them just ranked outside the top 25, but if they beat Indiana, I would put them at number 4.
Does that, okay, for what you just said right there, does that speak a little bit more about the depth in the Big Ten that originally we thought, boy, it's going to be tough finding that 4th team if the Big Ten was able to get 4 teams in the college football playoff? And kind of to Gary's question, if there's that big drop-off, how do you see that depth compared to maybe what you thought going into the year?
Well, I mean, the middle class is weird. I think that top 3 is established. Michigan's fallen off a little bit, mainly because they botched this quarterback situation. They still have some talent on that roster, but they're destined to lose 4 or 5 games. So I think, you stack up Nebraska. Indiana's for real. I know the second time I've said that, but the way that they're getting up and down on offense, and Kirk Cignetti, I went back and looked at his win-loss record across all the schools he's coached. And I go back to January when I thought, man, this guy's arrogant. And now I'm like, well, he's backing it up a little bit. So, I mean, he could have his pick of jobs. I mean, if I'm Florida, I'm calling that guy. So, yeah, I think Nebraska, Illinois, Indiana. I would still put Michigan and USC in there because they have enough talent to beat anybody. And then you get into like Maryland and Rutgers. Rutgers is still pretty good. You saw them last weekend. They've got the old school Big Ten formula working for them, and maybe not enough offense to win the big one.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News, who believes in a zone defense for 5th grade basketball, joins us now. Last weekend, what a great weekend for the sport, because places that don't get experience success in Nashville and Fayetteville of late, and even Berkeley, got the full dose of college football, why it's so great. And then we wake up and we look at the top 10, and half the top 10 has a loss. But the Vandy-Alabama game, twofold, Bill, what does it mean, Vandy beating Alabama? What does it mean for Alabama? And what does it mean for the sport of college football?
Well, for Alabama, I think it's just a reality check for Kalen DeBoer that, there are certain fan bases where everything and all the goodwill built from that top 5 thriller against Georgia goes away, because here's the problem with Alabama fans. They expect to beat Georgia, and they also expect never to lose to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Right? And Saban didn't do that. They made a lot about Saban's comment, that's the only hard. Well, it wasn't for him. He would win like 60-0 when they went there. So, for the sport, I'm conflicted. It was a lot of fun. It was a great day. But like you said, you look at playoff rankings and you're like, I made the comparison that Tennessee, Arkansas, how much different was that than the Cardinals beating the 49ers the other day? If it's NFL light you want, you have that in the SEC right now. The SEC has 1 unbeaten team, 8 teams with 1 loss. And if I want you guys to do this for me. When Go look at the AFC standings and then go look at the SEC standings and tell me what the difference is. It's not much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so based on that, because there's a huge game this weekend that after they lost to Kentucky, I thought, that's just Lane Kiffin. But to what you just said right there, does that put teams like Ole Miss and other teams that have lost a game where you're like, ooh, but then you see what happens last week and you put that more in a perspective of still a damn good team. This is just what you have to get used to in college football. And as you put it, and I think it's a very good way to put it, if you want the NFL, or if you're seeing the NFL light, you're going to get that any given Saturday type approach.
And you're getting that in the Big Ten and the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they want it, because that's the ones that are in our face. So in the past, in week 7, a game like LSU Ole Miss this weekend, 2 one-loss teams, that's an elimination game. No 2-loss team ever made the 4-team playoff. Now, it's just a leg-up game. Man, yeah, the loser is going to feel consequences, but I do think there will be a number of – I'm trying to figure out how many 3-loss teams will be in the college football playoff. I think we'll get at least 2. And that's where, if you're Nebraska, who had the Illinois loss, or even Michigan with 2 losses, it was like, they run the table, they're in. You know, so you still have faith after that second loss. And that's what's changed, especially. And it's hard to figure out. One of the things with the Big Ten having 18 teams and no divisions, I think the chaos is coming in November as we get this rush in the standings and, you know, all these quirky tiebreakers that they'll have to go through to place these teams 1 to 18, because that's exactly what the playoff committee will look at.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News joining us. There's the side that we talk about teams that are having fun, and we talk about Indiana being bowl eligible. We live in a world, Bill, where Indiana is bowl eligible before Florida State has won their second game. That's become a story. What's gone wrong in Tallahassee, and moving forward in the new landscape of we're still in the ACC, the NIL, all of that stuff. What's the fix at Florida State?
Well, I think transfer quarterback. I mean, that's what happened. They lost. And so try me on this one. I think Michigan's going through on a lesser scale what Florida State is going through. You lose your quarterback. You have double-digit guys go to the NFL. You're relying on the portal a little too much. Florida State more than Michigan there. And Michigan also had a coach leave. But here's the thing. Florida State, it just didn't click. And I think in this new era, you're going to see more of that. I mean, look at TCU. Not to change the subject, but TCU was in a title game 2 years ago. Now they can't beat Houston.
Yep.
So if you rely too much on the portal and gamble on portal quarterbacks and lose, this will happen. For every portal success story, there are failures. I don't think Mike Norvell will lose his job. I just think there will be more stories like this, where a program like Indiana could go 11-1 this year and 4-8 next year. It wouldn't surprise me.
Bill, speaking of portaling and teams based on that, how surprised are you that K-State, Colorado both come in with identical 4-1 records, and that people are now starting to look at Colorado, not just because of the prime factor, but curious, seeing the odds go up in the Big 12 that they could win it, going back up to like 25, 28%. Is there something with Colorado since they lost to Nebraska?
There's a little substance to it. I mean, I was stunned how they beat UCF.
Mm-hmm.
I thought UCF would beat them by 3 touchdowns. I really did. I thought they would run all over them. And now I'm like, not sure what's going to happen Saturday night, because I know Kansas State can run the ball too and stop the run, but their quarterback turns the ball over a little bit. Avery Johnson, he's exciting 1 minute, turnover the next minute. And Colorado has a little substance to them. You know, Shador's very good, and Travis Hunter is in the Heisman mix. I mean, we had a lengthy editorial meeting yesterday where the 2 Heisman candidates we were discussing were Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty. And I'm like, we live in a world where the 2 Heisman candidates, one plays at Colorado and one plays at Boise State. Right. I mean, are we back in the 90s or the late 80s again? It's amazing. So I think all of those things are good for the sport. And you know what? Credit to Colorado. at 10:30 on Saturday night, that's where the eyeballs are going to be.
Yes, they will
because that's the late night entertainment.
Yep. Hey, Bill, as always, we appreciate the conversation and the time. We enjoy your work and always look forward to our chats. Thank you.
Oh, this was amazing. Thanks for having me on, guys. Take care.
That's Bill Bender. Arguably one of the nicest guys that cover college football on a national scale.
Apparently a hard ass as a coach, though. Who knew?
Yeah, he did tell that story last year. We had him on. We had him on around the championship game.
Yeah.
And I think Ohio State had just beaten Iowa in Columbus in women's basketball.
Yeah.
The game you brought up to him, K-State Colorado was one of those sneaky end of the night, great slate.
Yeah.
Has a huge meaning on the Big 12. And talk about two different ideas of how to get yards and points on offense.
Right. And
sneaky good game. Good call on that.
I think the entertainment factor is one thing, but this is the first time that I'll actually watch this game beyond the Colorado factor, the prime factor, you watch them because you want to see them lose and you want to see, Deion Sanders get a little bit of humble pie. He said something this week actually that I can't believe I'm saying this, that I actually liked his response when he was asked the question about, are you surprised that you're 4-1 going into this game? Are you surprised by that? And his response essentially was, well, when you put on a really nice suit and you feel like you're putting on good looking clothes and someone says, Noah, you look good. Does that surprise you? No, because you expected that.
Say every morning.
There's something there with how they responded. And I think the Central Florida game, I think Bill's right. The Central Florida game got a lot of people's attention because the Baylor game, you could chalk that up to, oh man, that was just a back and forth. That was a flukish type win. You won on a Hail Mary. But that Central Florida game was a statement for Colorado. And now all of a sudden you're at home, even though you're a slight underdog, they win that game. A lot of people looked at K-State at the beginning of the season as one of the best teams in the Big 12 could possibly win it.
Let's go,
They
Buffs.
win that game. Damn.
I'm Team Josh Land this weekend.
If you've been happy to have a little bit of the Colorado narrative silenced a little bit or kind of put back to the end of the line, it's coming back around if they win that game.
So isn't this a weird dynamic for a Nebraska fan? Who do you root for in that game? Still hate K-State?
I think you root for Colorado. I think you root for Colorado
K-State's
because
a 4.5-point favorite.
Or you root for Sinkhole?
You want Colorado to look as good as possible because that is arguably one of your most dominant wins to this point. I don't even think arguably. The way that they played that type of skill and the way the defense just absolutely crushed them for 4 quarters, and all of a sudden they're 5-1, and then their odds going up to win the Big 12 go even higher to 40 to 50%. Hell yeah, you want Colorado to win.
Yeah, I'd be wearing my Cordell Stewart jersey and my prime hat.
Because people still talk about Colorado since Nebraska. When they've talked about them this week, they keep saying since Nebraska. Nebraska's still brought up in that game, and you see highlights from that game of Shedeur just getting punked, and the defense just swallowing up them the entire game. Like those are still that's still your B-roll when talking about Colorado right now.
They're coming off a bye week, and on the old TikToker, I get a lot of Colorado football. They've been really quiet since the UCF game. Like they could have been like obnoxious and ridden. They weren't acting like Colorado after they won a game where most people thought they would lose and they were a double-figure underdog. Now, Deion referenced it in the post game, but post that, they have actually, I think, they've toned it down. But here's what tells me. I think when they know they're up against it, they have a quiet week in the social media world. They were, for the most part, quiet before Nebraska.
Yeah.
They're really quiet this week ahead of Kansas State.
Yeah.
But I like that game. Late night. That's going to be a nice little topper. That'll be the dessert to a 5-course meal.
It's just a great Big 8 game. Come on. We love the old Big 8, don't we? Maybe we don't. I do.
I'd take the Big 8
don't.
again.
I would too.
I'd take the
You
Big
don't
8.
love
We're going to
America,
have to talk
you
about
don't
travel.
Yeah. Drive everywhere.
Look at that. Advantage Nebraska.
How much
Being in the Big
purple?
8, the Big 12, or the Big 10 in terms of travel. Looking in the Big 12, you had to go to Texas.
That's true.
Still wasn't a long way away.
How much purple will be there, I wonder?
Pretty good. I mean, look at out in western Kansas.
Oh, true.
Jimmy
yeah.
can vouch
you
for
go,
that. That's K-State.
Yep.
That's K-State territory. There'll be a lot of western Kansas people that will make the trip to Boulder.
Life savings to go to this game.
Yeah, I love that game is where it is in the slate, too, because there'll be some bangers all day long. Then you get to end with that one, and I hope it delivers. That just seems like that's going to be a back and forth.
Great day for the Big 12. I mean, because you have the Texas State Fair game and then that one.
Yep. You start. Well, actually, you don't start the day with that. It's a 2:30 game, not an 11 a.m. game. Damn it.
Big 12 is going to have a big day.
Hmm?
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's
Yeah,
right. That's right. Also, we are soft. I will tell you, there's something soft about that game. That game used to mean something.
Yeah,
that
it's the
game
Red
used
River
to mean
Shootout.
that you could put 5,000 calories in your body, carry a gun into the Cotton Bowl, watch the game, go back out, put another 5,000 in, go on the hang glider, and throw up on people.
They sold out.
Yeah, they're soft. And I'll tell you why they're soft. Texas, Oklahoma, you're soft. You're not only running away from the challenges of the Big 12 to go to the SEC, you did something that you have lost your man card with us that used to be in the same conference as y'all.
Salads at the state fair?
Cucumber sandwiches?
No, I'll tell you.
Deep fried cucumber sandwiches.
Tell you when we come back. Not a good thing. I wouldn't be proud of it.
Uh-oh.
But it's all about money. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone. All right, good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome back in. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. This is the last day of the year with more than 2 baseball games.
Oh,
Come on.
You're right.
Yeah,
that's true.
Mets and the Padres can clinch. The other 2 are 1-1.
Yep. Then tomorrow is back to the Monday, the 2 games slates.
2:08 is the first game today. Knicks Guardians in Detroit to take on the Gritty Kitties. Then we have 3 more games, including the Royals and the Yankees. And then we have 4 months of sadness coming because we will not have multiple games. Also, keep this in mind for the Kansas City Yankee game tonight, because I'm still wondering, like, who's going to get the biggest pop. That'd slip in my wrestling reference because we got Nebraska ball Mike here in just a moment on the phone. Will it be Bobby or Salvi Perez? How about this? The last time that the K hosted a playoff game, Salvi was 25.
I was 32.
Waited nearly a decade for a playoff game to come back to the K. He's 25. Now he's 34. He's going to Cooperstown.
Mm-hmm.
Some might say no, but he's headed to Cooperstown.
Few things have changed.
I
since
wasn't
then.
married.
Yep.
Didn't have a little one either.
Well, things have changed.
Things have changed.
Just like you and Salvi.
Congratulations on sex.
That's right.
Okay. We have gotten soft in this college football
Yes,
society.
tell me what this is about.
Sometimes you have to stand up for principle, and it can't be all about money. Now, I hope this doesn't come back to hurt me when I'm out there, chasing the bag. But have you heard the controversy between Oklahoma and Texas surrounding Fansville?
No.
Uh-oh.
Does this have something to do with All-State,
Boz?
though?
No, Fansville.
Yeah, I know. But I know the game is dubbed All-State Red River Rivalry.
No, it's the commercial. So Brian Bosworth has been a main character on the show.
True.
Where did he go to college?
Sure. Oklahoma.
Bleeds Sooner. Crimson and cream.
No doubt. And also
I
hates
said Scarlet.
Absolutely hates Texas, too.
Burn orange makes him puke.
Well, who else is in the commercial this year?
I don't know.
Reggie Bush made an appearance.
Quinn Ewers.
Oh, okay.
Where does Quinn Ewers go to
It's not
school?
DJU anymore.
Where does Quinn Ewers go to school?
I believe Texas.
And he's supposed to play Saturday.
So they didn't tell, Dr. Pepper refused to tell Bosworth that they were shooting the day that they were shooting the scenes that they're in together, that it was Quinn Ewers of Texas.
He wouldn't have shown up.
Oh.
He probably would have balked at it.
Yeah, he would have.
I mean, the bag has got to be pretty good from Dr. Pepper, but an Oklahoma legend with the quarterback of Texas, and they appear to somewhat be playing nice. We've gotten soft. It's all about the money. All about the money.
Great. We're going to see Boz and Vince Young next.
That would have been amazing if they had told him and Brian Bosworth said nope.
That'd be great. I would have like
Get Ricky.
I kind of intrigued by Boz. I would have been like, bam.
How cool would this have been? What if it was reversed where they told Quinn Ewers you're going to be shooting with Boz, and he said nope.
Who?
Yeah, it would have been great.
I think it'd be even cooler if Quinn Ewers did.
I mean, Boz would have been, because he's the sheriff. If he would have said no, then it would have been like the Purge. Like Ewers would have shot, and it would have been like the Purge. Okay, you lose a game, instead of, you tear down the goalposts and then you break into somebody's house with goalposts.
As long as maybe we hear some stuff on the set, though, that it was very
October,
icy.
yeah.
It was very Chevy Chase, Bill Murray-like in Caddyshack, where they just wouldn't speak to each other. If we can get some behind-the-scenes content there, I think that would be good.
Korean corn dogs will be new at the Texas State Fair.
Okay. Ooh, I like this game. I remember last year.
So
What is a Korean corn
exciting.
dog?
Deviled eggs.
What's a Korean corn dog?
Delicious.
Is it? Has anybody had one? I don't know.
Well, I'm just sure it's delicious.
Corn dogs, half hot dog, half mozzarella cheese, battered with wheat, rice flour, coated with panko bread crumbs, and deep fried for extra crispy crunch.
Oh, God, I want one. You had me at mozzarella stick.
The dumpling experience is new at the Texas State Fair. Let's see here. So exciting deviled eggs.
Nope.
The signature creation, the Texas barbecue rib deviled eggs, is a mouth-watering twist on the classic deviled egg. With a creamy, savory, traditional deviled egg, filling you know and love. This treat is topped with crispy coleslaw and tender barbecue rib meat tossed in beer barbecue sauce. It's the perfect mix of smoky, tangy, and rich flavors all in one bite. Get ready to indulge in excellent experience that's sure to be a State Fair favorite. Oklahoma, Texas plays Saturday.
That could be good.
Oh, they're building up. Rita's Italian Ice is new.
What? What is it? What? No. The only reference I ever had to Italian Ice is the Seinfeld with Bette Midler when Kramer's trying to go get her an Italian Ice.
Blue Bonnet Bis. That looks like Dippin' Dots. Candied pork belly bacon bits. Caramel macchiato fritters.
What? You spill my macchiato.
Churro crumble cheesecake.
Oh.
Cookie butter nachos. The crookie. Okay.
The crookie.
Deep fried tabalitas. Dumplings. Fat bacon pickle fries. Fernie's goat funnel cake. Fried apple cinnamon crepe. Hammy pimento meltdown. Looks like a pimento cheese sandwich that is grilled. The Hot Cheetos Korean corn dog.
Another Korean corn dog.
Yep.
Eh?
Kona Ice. Let's see
Kona
what else
Ice.
here.
Kona Ice is very popular.
Get that in Johnson County.
Pork belly cervache tamales. Mexican street corn pizza.
Love it.
The waffle sticks. Whole bunt of kisses, which is a bunt cake that is
has kisses
battered in powdered sugar. It looks like those are the State Fair of Texas new foods that you can consume if you're going to the Texas-Oklahoma game.
Well, I want to go back to this crookie thing. It's
Don't
a
sit near
croissant
someone who eats the deviled
with
eggs.
a cookie. A flaky croissant is sliced and filled with cookie dough.
Hey,
Yeah,
cookies.
I'd like that.
Cookies are a big deal. Like you go to the Minnesota State Fair and everybody gets the bucket of
The
cookies.
bucket of cookies, yeah.
But at ballparks,
Chase 'em
I've
with some
noticed more
Ozempic.
this year. Bucket of cookies. Like you can get 20 chocolate chip cookies. The kind of not mini, not full, in between.
Mm-hmm.
Cookies are popular at ballparks.
A little bit of insulin.
The triple big snack looks good too. Triple meat big back snack.
So enjoy your time if you are taking in Texas,
God
Oklahoma
bless Texas.
this weekend as an SEC game for the first time ever. For somebody that has been to one of these games, put it on your bucket list.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. They split the stadium. The atmosphere outside and inside. It's very, very, very few college football Saturdays match what the game in the Cotton Bowl is.
This is
Will
as late as
they
play.
chant SEC
To each other?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they do that.
They have some signage.
No,
that
they will
says it just
chant
means
other
more?
things towards
Yeah,
each other.
That's what I've heard.
The teams come out of the same tunnel.
Nice.
They have to hold one team up. Oh, it's fantastic theater. All right, here is usually pretty good theater on the phones on the 42 Degree The Source hotline. Here is Nebraska Ball Mike. Hello. Hello.
How we doing, gentlemen?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'd be all over the macchiato fritter thing.
Okay.
What about the hammy pimento meltdown? It looks really, really good too.
I don't trust pimento cheese.
Oh, okay, fair.
Get
How
you a
do
little
think
runny?
Brian Bosworth would feel in a couple of years if he had to do with Dylan Raiola.
No, the Oklahoma Nebraska thing is different than Oklahoma Texas.
Respect.
It'd be interesting. If they keep the commercials going, it'd be really interesting to see where it is in a couple of years.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know that I want Nebraska's quarterback on there because DJU was DJU and then Ewers got injured.
Well, first of all,
curse.
DJU is not capable of doing anything.
Come on now.
I mean, they did win one game.
And I think Dylan Raiola is much more
What a game that
capable of doing something.
Yeah, I'm not ready to compare DJU and Dylan because I don't even think there's a comparison there. But
no,
I got you. Hey, can I tell you something about a professional wrestler that's coming to town?
What's up?
So oddly, next Wednesday at the Hy-Vee at 108th and Fort. Did you know this, Mike? That Hulk Hogan is going to be in Omaha.
He must need money.
Oh.
What?
I used to be a little Hulkamaniac, Mike.
I did too.
When Earthquake sat on him, I sent him a letter.
So Josh Odson, you know Josh, he was at the Hy-Vee yesterday, and he saw the sign out front that the launch of the Real American Beer a week from today from noon to 1, Hulk Hogan will be at the Hy-Vee at 108th and Fort.
I'm so glad my dad doesn't have to put up with any of that.
So this is why they didn't have us back.
It's pointless.
Yeah.
He's not a name anymore. I mean, he's a name, but he's not going to sell what he thinks he's going to sell.
Yeah. 20 years ago, I'd probably there, and I would rip off my shirt and I would imitate him. But now I'm good.
As far as this week goes, look, Ohio State's got to put some kind of effort in, which is going to be good for us because we actually have to see it on film against somebody who's good, and we know what they're capable of. We know what they're probably going to do. But, Mr. Signetti, you're 60 years old. You're talking trash like a college student. Do you realize you coach Indiana football?
I believe he knows.
Do you realize you coach Indiana football? You're going to run into a real defense who's not going to roll over and play dead. Okay? We know what you're capable of. Do you have any clue what we're capable of? Do you have any clue what it's like to have a good team come in there and want to kick your teeth in? We're not UCLA on a bad trip. We got a good coach, too. You might want to shut up.
I don't know how to respond to that, but good job.
All I know is last time Mike did a hype like that, it was Colorado week, and that worked out well for Nebraska.
Hey, what if next week we maybe we do a joint like 10-minute segment with a morning talk show in Indianapolis on the Fan or Bloomington, and then we get you on and you can talk smack to their audience. Would you like that?
They have to win.
Okay, well, we'll do it next year then.
If the boys win, I'll do it.
Well, you can't.
Yeah, you got to do it leading
We're
up.
not going to talk smack afterwards.
Yeah, we're not that type of fan.
I call in enough, and you guys respect me enough. I'm not going to call in if we lose. No.
In all kinds of weather, we stick together. What happened to that?
I know that, but I'm not.
Yeah.
When's the last time you heard from me?
Well, yeah, you're right.
I'm not going to call in if we
Yeah,
lose.
you haven't heard from me since Colorado.
Now, I'm calling, first of all, the biggest thing today is it's the 75th birthday of a very important American songwriter. And those of us who grew up with his music, he matters a lot, man. Jackson Brown, have a good birthday, man. Go listen to Running on Empty if you have a copy. And he's one of the best to ever do it.
Okay. I appreciate that shout out for him.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with his music, and he helped me through a lot of stuff.
That's important.
76 years old today.
I appreciate that, Mike.
Enjoy your day, gentlemen.
All right.
You too, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Running on Empty always reminds me of Forrest Gump.
He just felt like running.
Mm-hmm.
Then he wanted to go home.
That soundtrack, by the way, is a banger.
I don't know if I'd want the smoke of Kirk Signetti. That sounds weird to say, but yeah, I wouldn't make him mad.
So you want a little tidbit about Jackson Brown?
I'd love some.
He got gas before he ran on empty.
So he's actually born in Germany. So his father was in the service. Do you know that one of the first hit by the Eagles, Take It Easy, was actually co-written by him?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't surprise me. I didn't know that, but that doesn't surprise me.
Great sing-along
I
song.
think he helped the Eagles a lot before he branched out and got on his own and made a name of his own.
And if he never made a name on his own, he could always say he was the brains behind the Eagles. But no, that's Running on Empty. I'm trying to think what's Catfish John, right?
What'd you say?
Say Catfish Hunter?
No, didn't he do a song called Catfish John? Am I making that up?
I don't. My catalog of Jackson Brown is not deep.
Is it limited? You don't celebrate the entire catalog, is what you're telling me.
No.
Thought this was a Phillips 66 read for a second.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Catfish John is a Jackson Brown. I'll look it up.
Yes, it is.
Boom.
Yes.
I know 2 songs from Jackson Brown.
Well, Mr. Bojangles.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Mr. Bojangles. No, that's a good one.
Fishing in the Dark was a...
That's Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
He wrote that.
I know.
What was that? Hold On. No, it's Fishing in the Dark was on the Hold On album in 87. There you go. I'm very... my Jackson Brown is very, very like random.
Obviously
like
mine is 2.
76 today.
Obviously mine is 2. Because I don't know why I knew that Catfish John was a Jackson Brown song.
Why didn't the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band last longer? Is there a scandal there?
Yeah.
It's because there's a thing in music called one-hit wonders. And I believe Nitty Gritty Dirt Band
Whoa!
had one hit, and that was
they were a musical guest on Saturday Night Live in the 70s.
Whoa!
They were a musical guest on Saturday Night Live in the 70s?
Yeah, I remember. I was there.
Wow. I would not have thought that.
Reincarnation, man.
Let's see. Nitty, what are they doing today?
Hopefully not taking a dirt nap. But
I'm sure there's some members of the band that are, they were active in 1966. Holy smokes. Past members. Yeah, they've had a few. Well, I don't know if they're necessarily deceased. They're just no longer with the band. I mean, maybe they're
branched out on their own.
Yes, they're
on the state fair tour.
I mean, how do you when you peak at Fishing in the Dark? Where do you go from there?
Mr. Bojangles,
the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
Yes, Rippin' Waters, Fire in the Sky.
See, now you're really getting into. These are all songs I don't even know.
Now my catalog knowledge of Nitty Gritty Dirt Band
apparently
is a bit longer than Jackson
Brown.
Brown.
It is. I just
which is
consider
probably
it a
a
one-hit
shame
wonder
because Jackson Brown probably has more.
Yeah. See, you got to remember in the 90s when Fish in the Dark was really, really popular with my my knucklehead friends, and we started dabbling in country music, and we'd go to Guitars and Cadillacs on Thursday night because it was 18 and over.
Mm-hmm.
We would listen to Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and I never heard another song during that time from them, which made me think that they were a one-hit wonder. And now that I realize that they had a lot of stuff before that, I stand corrected. They had many more songs than Fishing in the Dark.
They are not Kajagoogoo.
So
or Chumbawamba.
One quick memory of Fishing in the Dark. I was on a date.
And you fished in the dark?
No.
Oh, well, it would have been a good date.
No. I did not fish in the dark. But we were, you remember when the Rockies came aboard and they were playing at Mile High Stadium, the old Mile High?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I went to the first two games ever.
Nice.
At Mile High Stadium. And
how did Big Cat do?
They did well. I mean, every ball that got in the air went out.
It's the Expos.
That is true.
But they would have a sing-along. And Fishing in the Dark would be the sing-along.
Oh, that'd be
and
cool.
The whole ballpark, the whole old Mile High Stadium would sing Fishing in the Dark.
Especially when you hear the you. I bet that the crowd just went nuts.
It was. I'd heard the song before, but then it was a whole different level. And
oh, sure. When everyone's singing along, that's awesome.
Yeah. You and me go fishing in the dark.
Line on her
Thank
back
God I
and
did not in
count
that
the
relationship.
stars.
But she liked baseball.
You didn't lie on your back and count the stars? Was
Whoa.
the grass cool?
Whoa. Dude, I'd have probably 6 kids right now, and I'd be friggin' miserable.
You were lying on your back watching stars.
Alternate reality.
Hey, I moved slow.
I see how you go. Okay.
When spring was almost over and summer came, I got the hell out of there. Here is Tim on the 42 degree The Source Hotline. Good morning, Tim.
Hey, Nick, remember Tiny from Guitars and Cadillacs, bouncer?
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, he's a good old boy.
Yeah.
What was Tiny, about 6 foot 360?
Oh, it was a reverse nickname.
Oh, yeah, well, he was 5'10", maybe 380.
Yeah. He wasn't Tiny. There's always those good reverse nicknames. That was Tiny. Oh, good call, Tim. Good call.
Hey, you guys need to go to Dallas to that game. It's once in a lifetime. You know, it's a crap hole like Wrigley, but it's a good venue.
He's like, do Wrigley.
But, Fair Park's always been like that.
The call's about to end.
You need to go down there and get the jalapeno Snicker bars fried. Really good.
Jalapeno Snicker, a fried Snicker would be great. So the jalapeno, can you explain? Is it in the actual, like in the nougat?
In the batter?
It's in the batter.
Okay.
And if you have a red beer with it, that'll wake your ass up from the night before. Trust me.
All right.
Okay.
I like it.
Thank you. So they put money into the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
I
went a little bit better.
I went in 2010. So Oklahoma beat Texas. Both teams were ranked.
Mm-hmm.
The neighborhood is kind of interesting, Jimmy.
It's been that way since the 60s.
Yeah.
There's a reason why
the
they moved
Cotton
to
Bowl
Texas
just kind of stands out in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
On the fairgrounds in Dallas. But it's not what I expected when I was going to the game. I was like, are we going to be okay?
On House Hunters, they say this is an up-and-coming neighborhood.
I have been told that the city poured a lot of money into the actual facility. And so, because the Cotton Bowl, it looked, when I was there, now we're 14 years, it was very aged.
Yeah.
It looked like, wow, used to be like a banger, like unique, a special place, but it had aged and it hadn't aged really well. It kind of looked like when Miami played and they got all those penalties and it was in the old Cotton Bowl when the Cotton Bowl was actually in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
But yeah, the neighborhood kind of reminded me of the neighborhood of the old Orange Bowl in Miami, if you know what I mean. When you'd go to the old Orange Bowl and you'd be like, wow, is my car and my life going to get out of here after the game? Now, we were on the state fairground, so you didn't worry about that. But you're like, this is kind of interesting. But again, great atmosphere.
It's a bucket list game.
Oh, it's the fact that it is split right down the middle with burnt orange and crimson. It's it's not like, and they're not like blended in.
No.
Like you don't see a patch of burnt orange here. It
really is split.
You don't sell your tickets and you sit on your split of the stadium for that season. It's pretty damn cool.
Is it like the Rose Bowl?
No, this is better. This is OU Texas.
Rose Bowl, you never see the bleeding over either.
You see the mountains.
In the actual Rose Bowl, not the Rose Bowl. The bowl game.
The bleeding over.
Yeah, the colors bleeding over. It's split in half of the teams that are involved.
Oh.
Yes.
Nothing like
no,
OU
I don't
Texas.
I don't think they sell it that way.
I don't know if they sell it that way, but
no,
it works out that way.
This rivalry, it is like what is it, about 70,000, 75,000?
Now it's 90. It used to be 75 before.
You're a left sider and then you're a right sider.
Yeah.
They did this because Jerry Jones wanted the game and they said no.
Well, I don't think you can move it out of that venue.
No.
The venue makes the game.
Yeah, it belongs
It
in
would
Fair
look
Park
so
forever.
weird at AT&T Stadium. That'd just be really
They got enough
bizarre.
crap over there and a Walmart across the street.
Oh, they got a Walmart over there now.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know that. We were there in 2016. That was the last time I was there. At AT&T.
And they have 2 baseball stadiums. Yeah.
You can pick one. But yes, go to OU Texas, change your life, State Fair of Texas, clog them damn arteries. Finish the night at Whataburger.
The new items that you
Probably
laid
not going
out.
to Dallas and going to Whataburger. Probably going to go somewhere local.
It is local.
Yeah, to Kansas City.
Did this guys, I'm looking at the new items. Did you mention the Island Rumble?
I did not.
So,
what is in the Island Rumble?
Well, I'm going to tell you. You can dive into a medley
rough
of
time.
Caribbean flavors with a base of extra creamy mac and cheese and topped with juicy flame grilled to perfection jerk chicken that is marinated in a special pineapple rum jerk marinade. Garnished with a tangy homemade pineapple pico salsa and a flavorful spicy jerk crema. Each bite is tropical getaway for your taste buds.
I'm sold.
Come on down, let your senses set sail with every delicious forkful.
Double my
One
blood
love
pressure meds.
never tasted so good.
It's a great place, man.
Oh, it looks
a great place. And that'll take place in the SEC this weekend for Texas and Oklahoma. It does not sound right.
Nope.
It's kind of a must-win game for Steve Sarkisian as the number 1 team in the country. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Jay Moore will join us after the top of the hour. Brandon Vogel as well on 1620 The Zone.
And don't forget, week 5 of the 25K four-quarter pick'em is officially open. Make your picks now to get a piece of the prize of $25,000 going on all season. Play now at 1620thezone.com. And again, a big congratulations to our week 4 winner, John Miller, who won $2,500 last week.
Sunday night.
Winning 9 games out of the 10. Very good.
You're out
Well
of the
done,
cellar,
John.
Gary.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Did you see
Replaced
who?
by
yeah,
me.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Nick Grimm's running
I
away
mean,
with
it's
this
year to
thing.
year. It's kind of like Indiana football. They might be really good this year, and then next year they realize, well, you know what? We got to recruit and get high school guys, and we can't bring all these portal guys with us. And next thing you know, you go from winning 8 football games to winning 4.
Just throwing a lot of shade at Indiana today.
Great story on ESPN.com by Dave Wilson on Barry Switzer.
Yeah.
So it's titled Barry Switzer, the King of Norman, at the age of 87, who I think on your old show, we've had him on numerous times. Our good friend Chris Schmidt has him on all the time.
Yeah.
He is one of the most approachable legends out there. Like
Half a hundred.
I think all of us have Switzer's cell phone.
Yep.
And he'll answer it.
Oh, yeah.
Like
He'll text you right back.
But also, I've noticed this. So in my lifetime, I called him twice.
Mhm.
And it comes up as a 402 area code. And before he says, "Who is this?" because there's no way that he has me in his phone, he'll be like, Nebraska. And you're like, and they're like, oh my God, this is great. But there's a great story on the heels of Texas, Oklahoma on ESPN.com about Barry Switzer, written by Dave Wilson, who anybody that is down in Norman, like you will see Switzer lives in Norman, and he doesn't.
Common folk.
He's in still fairly good health at 87. You know, him and T.O. are both of the same age, and he's out and about.
Yeah, on the stream, Krecky mentions, and I remember Verz telling us about this, that he was at the wedding with Switzer as well. Yeah, that's pretty cool. He was one of the few guys in the last 10 years that I talked to that you're getting ready to talk to a legend, and I was intimidated as hell. I'm like, okay, first question, he's like, because he's someone to be like, that's a horrible question. Why are you asking me that? I don't even remember what I asked him, but it was something that was sort of borderline light, and he just had that old laugh, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Did you ask him why he went for it against the Eagles in 95?
You know what? It's
No, I did not.
We've discussed.
I think I asked him about the fur coat or something.
Ad nauseum, we talked about the Nebraska-Oklahoma rivalry.
Yeah.
I mean, we should technically around here we should hate Switzer.
Right.
Like
he's so likable.
Switzer, but look at Switzer was because he liked us.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, maybe we're getting soft here because some people like Snyder now. Like Bill Snyder.
Nobody like
now. No one will like Bill McCartney.
Yeah, nobody
that's not
likes
going to
Mac.
happen.
And he doesn't want that to happen.
No, but like technically, with what Oklahoma did to Nebraska, we should forever hate Barry Switzer. But
isn't that the true side of a charmer?
We can't. Well, I think it's the respect of the rivalry.
It is
because
he's
how
with the best of
how
them.
many Oklahoma fans do you hate?
Never had a bad interaction with Oklahoma.
That's why the difference of when I went to this game in
Loved
2010,
calling games down there.
their reaction to Texas compared to the reaction to playing Nebraska is night and day.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they would like to saddle up to us.
Yep.
They would like to kill a Texan.
Yeah. It's great to have you back. And then it's a Tex fan like, what the hell are you doing here?
But it's a
2 words can get you a free
really
drink
good-
in Norman.
really good read on ESPN.com. By the way, Aaron Rodgers will be on McAfee
Today.
at 11:15
Shocker.
today. A lot of moving parts.
Player coach.
Maybe Devontae Adams will show up as well.
Wouldn't that be great if he just popped up and
hey! I mean, a lot of things going on. A lot of moving parts with the Jets. But Rodgers will appear on McAfee today.
Just shaking my head. Is the juice worth the squeeze on Aaron Rodgers these days? I'd say no.
Should think girl next door.
That's just me.
Jay Moore joins us next on 1620 The Zone. All right, good morning, NCAA. The Division I Council just approved the elimination of the National Letter of Intent program. So signing and recruiting rules will change a little bit. NCAA, welcome to the new day. Welcome to Jay Moore, who, as we talk to him, is in his vehicle with the shades on, laid back, very cash. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are we doing?
Good. How are you doing? What are we doing right now? Are we in the parking lot of your business?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yep, that's where we're at. Just didn't get in here soon enough, so I thought I'd just hang out with you guys in the car for a little bit.
Well, we did have Ice Cube playing. Today was a good day, and as you were going over the bumps, it looked like you were actually listening to the smell. So I'm like, all right, cool. You're just having one of those days.
Man, that's a great song. That's a fantastic song. Definitely in my top 10 playlists. But no, I can't take credit for that.
Okay, all right. Just worked out that way.
So last night I heard you, and people are irate. It was not live last night. They had some debate.
Yeah.
So people are catching up on. I know. I'm with you, but you don't have to say that out loud. Big Red wrap up. You talked about something that I think is important that I want you as a player to explain. You said your observation is Nebraska is finding a way more to win than not to lose. Mm-hmm. How important is that? But how difficult is that transition when it's always been finding a way to lose, not finding a way to win?
Yeah, it's extremely hard, especially what we've experienced the last, maybe decade, or at least since 2016, where the last time we made a bowl game. And I think from a fan base, it's hard because you have so much time to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb and nitpick and overanalyze. But really, at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is the win-loss column, and if you score more points than the other team. And with that being said, it has areas in Nebraska struggled, and that's obviously been special teams and getting 4 kicks blocked in the past 2 games. Like, you don't win those football games. You do not. Like, the statistics are so greatly against you in that situation that you should lose. But Nebraska's found ways to win, and that's partly because of defense stepping up and making plays. They're taking better care of the football. Defense is creating turnovers. Some bigger plays have been made on offense to get field position. And I will say in special teams, rather opportunistic, Brian Buschini flipping the field, right? It was some punts at the end of the game of Rutgers. So I think from a player perspective, all you really care is that you win the football game. You don't get caught up too much during the games, like, man, we're not running the ball well, or we got a couple punts blocked. You take things as they come. You try to learn from things on the fly, but things are moving so quickly, and you're dealing with a lot of different things and outside factors that you just got to focus on the next play ahead. And I think when it's all said and done, as long as you have more points than the other opponent, you're happy. But then Sunday comes around, and that's when the coaches can kind of get at you. This is what we need to improve on. Hey, good job winning the football game. But, hey, if we continue to do these things, we will potentially lose. But I think the biggest thing is, I said it last night, and I'll continue to talk about it, is winning's hard. Winning in the Big Ten is hard. Winning in college football has gotten more and more difficult every year. And all that matters is that we keep stacking those wins. And it's game by game. There's always going to be something that's going to pop up that maybe was good the week before and wasn't as good, or something that was poor the week before is better and improved. So I think finding ways to win, and just this team has grit, man. They're gritty. They're going to find one way to get it done, one way or the other, even though the statistics are stacked up against them. And whether people like it or not, I'll take it right now. And 5-1 heading to Indiana.
Jay, where the bye week comes, and given the fact that you've got two offenses on the slate, Indiana and Ohio State coming next for Nebraska, if you're looking at what you do well defensively, and then given the opponents that you have, what's just your full assessment? What are the points of emphasis in preparation, not just for that Indiana game, but for this defense moving forward with the schedule that's in front of them?
Yeah, you got to continue to do what your foundational pieces, right? What you built on. You got to do those things well. That's you don't want to change those things. Obviously, continue to stop the run. Have everyone have a fine definition of what their roles are. Continue to tackle well in space. Force the opponents, receivers, ball carriers into your help side. Continue to not give up points in quick, sudden change scenarios, i.e. block punts, turnovers, whatever that may be. But you look at teams like Indiana, Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State's one of the best teams in the country. Let's give that. I don't even want to really get that far ahead. I mean, how are you gonna handle Indiana's offense? Which Cignetti's got them. It's high potent. They're scoring a ton of points. Points per play is really, really good. You got to defend the RPO game really, really well. The quarterback has is mobile. Can tuck it and run it. So with that being said, you got to be really disciplined. I think Indiana is going to be the best offense we face this year, maybe outside of Colorado. So you got to do things. You got to improve. You got to find out this bye week. Bye weeks are kind of a kiss of death, I said, because sometimes coaches can get too much time on their hands and try to do little things and tweak little things. But it's a good time to self-scout, recognize what you've done well, what you need to improve on, and go and get better at those things you need to improve on. But they don't have to change much, right? Indiana's going to make you tackle in space. They're going to want to get you in one-on-one scenarios. So you got to continue to do that. And that's been an issue for Nebraska's defense at times, is leaky yardage and tackling in space. But continue to do what you've done well, right? Create turnovers, be really good in quick change sudden situations, getting after the quarterback. We're getting home with 4 or 5 guys, which is awesome. And just take it play by play, man. They're good. They got Division I athletes. They're gonna get you every now and then. But the biggest thing is keep points off the board and keep battling day in and playing and play out.
Hey, the first 6 games. Then the bye week comes, 3, then a bye, then 3. But let's focus on the first 6. What game, in your opinion, of the first 6 is closest to who you think Nebraska is right now? The identity of this football team with all 3 phases got to play together to win a game.
Man, that's tough. I don't know if we've fully put all 3 phases together. I would like to say the Colorado game. I think just how we got off to such a fantastic start. Defense was lights out majority of the game. Offense was able to run the ball very, very well against Colorado. Special teams we had issues. Special teams, we missed a field goal, got a punt blocked, gave up a long kickoff return after the first touchdown. So there were some issues there. But I think just with the energy that was going into that game, the hype, the team handled it very, very well. But from the aspect of it, I think we, like I said, ran the ball really, really well. Defense got after the quarterback, created turnovers, was very opportunistic. I think that's where I'd have to go. And again, we really haven't played let's be honest, we haven't played a full game. You might be able to look at the UTEP game, but UTEP I don't think has won a game this year. So there's still plenty of good football left to be played. But if I had to pick, I think that Colorado game, I got to highlight that one and say, okay, that first half of football was probably the best first half of football this team has played in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
Jay, when you watch Ty Robinson, what you saw from a year ago compared to this year, and given his snap count this last week, and in a game you needed him to be on the field as much as possible, and he never seemed to falter. In fact, crazy enough, he almost got stronger there in the second half. What, if anything, has jumped out to you between last year, where he was a very productive Ty Robinson, compared to where he is, where it almost seems like it's just the complete package right now?
Yeah, I think Ty is he's always since he stepped on campus, he's had all the tools and the God-given talents to become a Sunday guy. And obviously he will be a Sunday guy, but he struggled with being consistent early in his career. And I think what's hard for ultra competitive, really good players is when you get, you come from a small pond, big fish type of scenario, and all of a sudden you're in a big pond where a lot of good fish are in this area. Your confidence can take a hit, right? And I think he struggled with a little bit of that, just not playing up to his expectations. He got down on himself. That's part of maturing, and that's part of growing up, and that's part of understanding, like, hey, there's good people, especially in the Big Ten, and good tackles and good whatever it may be. So I think he's improved that way, his mentality, just being consistent and understanding, like, hey, you might give me one play, but I'm gonna come back and get you the next 7. So I tip my cap to him on that scenario. But his ability to, I think where he's really stepped up and is probably going to help his bank account add a few more commas to it, is his ability to rush the passer. That's what teams in the NFL love. Stopping the run and being great at the point of attack. He's always been good. I mean, I think back to that Wisconsin game where he played as a true freshman just a few years ago, and he helped him on a goal line stand. I mean, that's big time stuff. But evolving into the pass rusher, getting home when you're able to split double teams and move around. They moved him and Nash around a bunch, so he's extremely mobile, knows how to get skinny in between gaps, knows how to use his hands, leverage. So I think where he's really taken it up a notch is just his ability to get after the quarterback, and that's going to, like I said, that's going to add a few extra commas to his bank account next year.
Jay Moore, who's got a big bank account and a good golf swing, and black shirt, joins us. This is a good question. It's into your wheelhouse because you redshirted at Nebraska. Walk us through the dynamic of the decision to redshirt that involves a family, but then also, is it better to play baptism by fire? Like, I'm looking at a guy like Keona Davis, who may not end up redshirting, and he's maybe playing 5 to 7 snaps, but he's in the heart of it in Big Ten football in the pit, compared to, hey, redshirting and getting better. What's the balance of deciding if a guy like a Davis or a Van Poppel, that this is the right thing for you to redshirt?
Yeah, it's hard. I think with Keona, he, again, similar type of guy with like Ty is you have all the bells and whistles, right? All the God-given talent. I mean, the guy is long, athletic, powerful. You want to be able to utilize him, but nowadays redshirting is vastly different. Majority of guys come in the spring, come in a semester early, and you get 4 games to play. We never really had that opportunity. The guys weren't coming in during the spring. Guys were still sticking around playing your spring sports and graduating high school in May, and then you come in the summer, do your workouts, and then try to see if you're up to the challenge during fall camp. I was not. I was a long ways away. Even if we had 4 games to play, I don't know if I'd have been ready to be thrown in that that fire. But nowadays, and I'll say, kids are better. Kids are vastly better coming out of high school. Coaching's better. There's just better. The technology that's around for kids and coaches in high school is better. But it's hard because I think you want to be able to throw them out there and see what they got. You want to be able to throw them out there against a UTEP, against a Northern Iowa, where you feel pretty confident you're going to win that football game no matter what. But let's see what they have. You can do one thing against competition of your own team in fall camp or spring ball, but how do you do it in front of 90,000 where it's loud and chaos and you're tired? And how's your brain work through all this? Can you think when you're tired? Can you process information when you're tired? That's a big thing for young players to kind of understand. But it's a nice asset to have when you can throw guys out there for 4 games. But now Keona and Riley Van Poppel, we saw Riley play on Saturday, and we thought he might not play much the rest of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of utilize these guys going forward, because they are talented. You hate to see guys stay on the sidelines when they can help you to win. So they got kind of a decision to make these next 6 to see how they kind of handle those. But it's a tough situation. You want to try to figure out guys who have talent and you want them to play, but you also want to kind of do some roster management so you can have them for another 3-4 years.
Well, and Jay, I know that even Matt Rule on Monday made the comparison. Speaking of Ty Robinson, talked about the jump that he's made. this coaching staff, and especially if we're talking about defensive players between Tony White, between Terrence Knight and Rob Dvorak and John Butler, maybe not necessarily John Butler yet because he's new to the staff, but given the reputation of being able to develop their guys, how much of that do you think also goes in the decision that it's easier for that player to accept because you can actually point at some direct results within a year's time with the staff and what they can do with that development?
Oh, 100%. I think being able to coach, like I said, coaching live game reps versus coaching practice reps is vastly different too. And that's a huge weapon you have as a coach, is to be like, hey, remember in practice, you can kind of go back and forth. We had the same look. You had the same pass set. You had the same blocking scheme. You had the same route concept. And you did it really well here, but all of a sudden you played 3 or 4 snaps in a game, got tired, and, you messed up. You didn't communicate. You didn't pass it off well. Your technique got sloppy. So I think that just carries more weight, and you can hit home so much sooner to these young players when you're able to coach on those live game reps. But you can just turn back, right? I mean, whether rules at Temple, Baylor, wherever he was, he has the knack and the ability to take young players who are maybe off the radar, right, and not highly recruited, and develop them. You've seen that. We've taken some guys that out of Texas or Florida who are maybe 3 stars, but also they get on campus and in a year or two, they're going to be really good ball players. So I think he has a history of that. Tony White's able to just show, hey, look how quickly these guys have come along in the last couple of years. And then when you have that 4-game, leeway to play and not worried about burning a red shirt, you can really develop guys way more vastly quicker than years ago, where you had to sit on the sidelines and do scout team for a year.
Hey, we always get informed. We get knowledge, and we appreciate the time as always. You look great, man. That's a great background you got there.
Thanks, boys.
Hey, be good. We'll talk to you next week ahead of Indiana.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
See Jay.
That is Jay Moore. He's definitely have a vibe.
Yeah,
Jay is a cool cat.
He is.
Like he's a guy that I think our listeners should go hang out with.
Oh yeah.
Should we tell him where he works?
Sure.
Not very far from here.
Where he plays golf at too.
And now that might be a little.
You just show up, you come rolling up in your cart. Yeah. You're like, hey there,
come
buddy.
to my work, not to my golf game.
Oh, you got a tea time at this time too? Oh, weird.
Hey, I got a stat for you concerning Dylan Raiola. Do you know that the last time that Cade McNamara threw a touchdown pass against a Power 4 or 5 program, Dylan Raiola was playing for John Kitna at Burleson High School in Texas. Since then,
the great John Kitna.
Since then, he has gone to 2 other high schools and now is a freshman at the University of Nebraska. Cade McNamara. So David Eichholt from 24/7 brought this up to Kirk Ferentz yesterday in the media session. Cade McNamara has not thrown a touchdown pass against a Power 4, Power 5 program since he threw a touchdown pass against Iowa when he was playing for Michigan.
Yeah.
How about that? Now, last
did
year,
the reporter bring up the Dylan part
last
too?
year he got in. No, he didn't. He did not. I'm bringing that
That
up.
would have been really funny. Why do you got to bring Dylan into this?
Why do you got to mention John Kitna? That was the last time. Now, last year, he got injured.
Yeah.
But we are, what is Iowa, 4-1?
Mm-hmm.
We're 5 games into.
No, 4-2.
4-2.
Yeah.
So they're 6 games into the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He brought that up against Power 4, Power 5, and I went, whoa. Now, Kirk handled it as he could.
Kirk
He
would.
said, well, that's because Sullivan's playing. No, he didn't say that.
well, yeah. And he's not going to have an opportunity to do that anymore anytime soon.
Bill Bender did mention the time zone thing. Ohio State's going to Oregon. Penn State's going to USC. Hey, State College, fix your airport. Get a longer runway.
It's true.
We'll
I've
see
been
what
to that airport.
We'll see what man, it's like
tiny.
I bet it's like flying into Stillwater.
You're like,
oh God, that fence is coming up to the plane.
It's a tiny little regional airport.
And then Pistol
surrounded by lime trees.
Greet you.
So 1-8 is the total. It's becoming a discussion point. But if only Ohio State or Michigan bring it up, would you entertain that we might be going back to divisions?
No.
Because if USC brings it up, they're like, did you not pick up the phone when we invited you?
Right. It's what you signed up for.
Shut your face.
Yep.
Take your money, put the logo on the field, and be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But if an Ohio State and Michigan all of a sudden are traveling to the West Coast and they're losing and they go, well, because it's that long travel,
yeah,
and they start, picketing the Big Ten office, would we even entertain divisions? This will be if Penn State and Ohio State lose this weekend, which I don't expect, but
I don't either.
The lines are what they are. If that happens, and now it's 1 in 10 traveling 2+ time zones, first of all, bless your lucky stars that Lincoln, Nebraska is where Lincoln, Nebraska is in the Big Ten.
We're just right here.
And then get ready, because they'll be like, you know what? I think we should be divisions. I think you good old Nebraska, you should be with Minnesota and Wisconsin and Iowa and Northwestern and Oregon and Washington and USC and UCLA. You guys be over there. We'll be over here. We'll go back to East-West. You can call it Legends Leaders, whatever you want. But you know what? For travel, this would just help us all as a conference. 1 in 8, 2+ time zones.
I don't think Penn State, you mentioned Michigan and Ohio State, which is right. I don't think Penn State, if they were to lose, them barking will get much attention because, as we know, they've also been crying foul that they have not hosted a Big Ten opener in a very long time. And that didn't change until this year. So it'd been a long, long time. That you just don't do that to Penn State. So I don't even think that their voice in this thing is going to matter. But yeah, it's something that everyone knew was going to be a fascinating follow of what travel would be like. And I think most of us were looking at the guys coming in, not the current membership of the Big Ten before Oregon, USC, UCLA, and Washington came in. Now, if you get a couple of teams from the original and your flag bearers of the conference, I mean, let's be honest right now too. The flag bearers, if they go and they lose and then they bring that up, I mean, and that's the other thing too, is how much do you want to bring that attention to a bad day where another team beat you and blame it on something else too? It's not a great look, but I would agree that it would get the attention of people talking of from the competitive balance that we want to see this conference have, because as proud as we are of this conference and the new members and the strength of it and where we are in the new college football movement, is the competitive balance where it needs to be, or is this something that we need to look at right now? And it's only going to be heard if it's just coming out of Columbus, Ohio. I wouldn't even say Ann Arbor as much. If they're saying something in Columbus and they lose that game to Oregon, and Ryan Day saying, well, we were fatigued. That was really tough travel. We got beat, yes, but boy, that extra day of travel didn't serve us well. We got to start having some conversations. Michigan says, and I'm like, Jim Harbaugh's
now. I'm gonna reserve on this until there's upsets, because there's only one upset in this. But I will tell you where the schedules will matter: basketball. Schedules matter in basketball because they're not all even, and the travel is not as even in basketball. That sport, we can have a deeper discussion. This will be a talking point to be like, I travel. I had Big Ten. You got what you deserve. We don't do that in the SEC. We're able to still get in our car and drive.
You don't want to do that with baseball?
We have players. Our players just get in those minivans and we just drive. When Ole Miss goes to play at LSU, we just drive. That's what we do in the SEC. You want to come to the SEC?
The big old 18-wheeler.
We don't. I mean,
it's jamming there.
I mean, Gainesville to Fayetteville. That's only one time zone. Brandon Vogel still to come on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. All right, our good friend from Countery.com, our good friend from Countery.com, Brandon Vogel, is going to join us here in a little bit. But first, mentioned a little bit ago with Texas, Oklahoma playing this weekend at the Texas State Fair, ESPN.com went and hung out with Barry Switzer in Norman.
Man, read it. It's good.
At the age of 87. He is a jewel who is super accessible.
He's not running on empty.
He is not. And now Mark has a story he'd like to share. Good morning, Mark.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good. And before a story interesting and typical of Barry. So a friend of mine and I had gone down to the 85 game, which we lost, and that was the day that Keith Jackson, the tight end, had a huge day and whatever. And then we went back down in 88 with my buddy and his older brother. And the night before the game, so we were out. We knew some people in Oklahoma City and went to a party and came back to our hotel in Oklahoma City, which was a Marriott, which of course that would be, 35, 40 miles from Norman, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember what time it was exactly, but it was after midnight. And I went outside of the bar. Those bars in the Marriotts in those days were really big. I went outside of the bar, go to the bathroom, came back. And as I'm bracing myself to work my way through the crowd, it was mostly Nebraska people, Barry Switzer standing right next to me. And again, this is after midnight, and the game the next day is 11 a.m., noon, whatever it was. It was an early game.
Mm-hmm.
And Barry's standing there, and I can see my buddies, and I wave them over, and we kind of take him just around the corner in a little alcove and shoot the stuff with him for a few minutes. And he was just as personable and as nice as you could imagine. And, I don't even know if he was drinking because he certainly didn't seem that way, but so friendly and so nice. And I had a pocket full of little Nebraska stickers that were like a helmet with a red N on them, if you can visualize those back in the day. And I pulled those out. I was going to have him sign the back of it. And instead he takes a sticker and puts it on his lapel and he says, "Hell yes." And shortly, we probably talked to him for 5 minutes or something. And shortly after that, and he's one of those guys who had this charisma that the second he kind of hit the door and people realized he's there, the place kind of just goes silent. Sure. And this is a raucous Nebraska pregame crowd, right? So, it was really, really interesting, and he was just as nice and as friendly as you could imagine, as everybody says he is, right? So that's my good Barry Switzer memory. And the next day, by the way, we won the game in the rain, 7-3.
Mm-hmm.
I think, if I'm remembering right, Steve Taylor scored really early, maybe even the first drive of the game.
Yep, first drive of the game. Nebraska wouldn't score again. Him and Kenny Clark had more Ken Clark had a great day, but the defense won that game.
Yeah, and it was really rainy out. It was crummy and turned to snow later that night and all that stuff. But anyway, it was really fun. I always remember that.
Hey, Mark, thanks for sharing that. And his part, we've all kind of been maybe to banquets that Switzer is at. Or as Nick was talking earlier, his connection interviewing him, he does when Barry is the show.
Yeah,
like that's what the dynamic of Barry and T.O. was so polar opposite.
Oh yeah,
but there was so much respect.
Yeah,
yeah,
and their friendship, which I think the fact that it lasted beyond their time of coaching and it still continues to be a friendship to this day. The best way I describe him is he's just there's that charm with him, but he's just very disarming. He's just one of those guys that you know the rivalry, what he's accomplished. You think that there'd be a big time element to him that he would kind of big time you. That's just not in his DNA. I think he genuinely appreciated Nebraska and the fans and the support. He recognized that because that's what they got at Oklahoma as well. And I think if you're that type of knowledgeable football fan base, he has nothing but love for you.
Except for that day when the Black Shirts beat the crap out of OU. OU didn't score a touchdown. It was Artie Lasher had a field goal at the end of the third quarter. And, Sooner magic was always the fourth quarter, Nebraska, Oklahoma, it would kick in. The Nebraska defense, that has to be.
This is the 88 game?
Yes.
Okay.
That has to be one of the great Black Shirt performances because they held OU without a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
OU didn't score a touchdown.
Really hard to do in those days.
They had Casey Thompson's dad.
Yeah,
corralled.
that's true. Yeah.
But Lawrence Pete and Willie Griffin, the Black Shirts were great that day. If I remember, it was the first time in 45 years that Oklahoma had not been in the end zone.
That'd probably be about right
in that rivalry.
Yeah, that'd be about right. It's funny you bring up one of the more dominant defensive performances in that rivalry because we were just talking about a Dominican Sue. The 09 one was all equally. I mean, it was if you liked offense, you did not like that football game. I remember Landry Jones did not like the black shirts in that one too. But yeah,
won the 88 game. They won the Big 8 title.
Yep.
I got the berth to the Orange Bowl. And OU had won. How long was the winning streak?
Well, and
the Big 8 winning streak, I think, was at 31. Nebraska won in 88.
Those were offenses that could put up 50 like that.
Half 100.
Yeah, well, the wishbone. So Oklahoma that day. Well, we could do this all day going down memory lane. Oklahoma that day didn't even rush for 100 yards.
Yeah, that's right there is probably even more crazy than keeping out of the end zone.
And let's be honest, their running backs were Rodney Anderson and Mike Gaddis, but they still had Charles Thompson and Nebraska defensively.
Still the wishbone.
Nebraska defensively, I bet they did not even get to 150 yards of offense because there were like 2 or 3 passes that Charles Thompson completed. I bet they didn't get it 150 yards total offense. I know they didn't get to 100 yards rushing out of the wishbone.
Yeah,
like the fourth quarter was like, okay, they're gonna hit their head on the goalpost a couple of times. But that was you remember when Casey was here, Charles Thompson. That was the lowest low light on the field for Charles Thompson.
Yeah,
because the final play is he broke his leg.
Yep, and that. It brings up so many of the characters of it. I mean, Barry Switzer and Tom Osborne obviously are two of the ones you remember the most, but whether it's the Charles Thompson, whether it's the Jamel Holloways, whether it's the Keith Jacksons of it, everybody brings them up. I think anytime you see those guys, you always have, that's why that Oklahoma-Nebraska rivalry is just so different when you're getting ready for Oklahoma-Texas, and the difference between that one, the hatred that's involved compared to the Nebraska-Oklahoma one, where people were excited to see that come back to Norman and then Lincoln, but it wasn't like how Colorado is of, oh yeah, this is going to get nasty. No, it was just we had some days together. We had some some battles, but gosh dang it, we respect the crap.
How about when the Big Ten and the SEC have a scheduling alliance?
Oklahoma
chooses Nebraska. Nebraska chooses Oklahoma.
They need to do that.
Ooh,
that would be fantastic.
I'd rather go somewhere else, but that's just me.
You've already been there many times. That's why other people haven't.
I've seen a few.
I'd love to see.
The young generation doesn't even know about it.
There was a time where Nebraska played in Columbia, South Carolina, Auburn, Alabama. I mean, they went to the South to play. I'm a fan. I want the experience of a fan of seeing my team play between the hedges.
Oh yeah,
something cool like that. To this day, Notre Dame is still like, man, I'll never forget that. And that's 24 years ago.
Yep.
Brandon Vogel, who's got many memories and writes about them on a regular basis on counterread.com. He will stop by to wrap the program after this. All right, bye week. That doesn't mean that the content at counterread.com comes to an end. Brandon Vogel joins us now. Good morning. Looking great as always.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. Reach behind you for people that are watching on the 1620 The Zone TV. Can you reach behind you and grab a book? I want to know what is it? What is one good book in your study there?
Do we have War and Peace?
I think I do. But,
of course you do.
I'll go with this one. This is one of my favorite college football books, Willie Morris, The Courting of Marcus Dupree. A lot of people probably watched the 30 for 30 on Marcus Dupree, the Mississippi running back who ended up at Oklahoma. But that's a phenomenal college football book. So
now, this was not a plant. We were just talking about Oklahoma and Barry Switzer. The 88 game came up. A listener called in about a Switzer story because there's a great story ahead of OU Texas this weekend on ESPN. Trust me, we did not. This was not a plan. It was just by chance. 18 games into the Matt Rule era, has he been able to establish an identity with his team that we can look at Nebraska playing Saturday to Saturday, home or away, and go, that's a Matt Rule Nebraska team?
I think so. I think particularly with defense, he said at some point after the season last year, it still sticks in my mind. He's like, we've always kind of had middle of the road offense, which Nebraska's offense is better this year. That's why they're at 5-1 instead of what were they 3-3 at the same point last year, 6 games in. But offensively, it looks a lot different. I'm actually digging into a lot of these numbers for tomorrow's newsletter. Major upgrade in terms of the passing game. Running game has slid back a little, but still, when you look at it broadly, Nebraska's offense is about average compared to last year when it was not good. So that's, I think, kind of the piece of it when you take the really zoomed out view is the offense has gotten better, it's scoring more points. The defense, in a lot of ways, is largely the same. And that's kind of the model. And right now, as you look over kind of the 6 games to come, like it's still a pretty slim margin for Nebraska, but they've progressed from what I think we saw last year, which just kind of submitted the defense piece of it, but the offense wasn't quite there yet.
Turnover part of it too, obviously at this point, is a huge factor, but it's interesting you bring up the offense because we knew that this offense didn't need to be all Big Ten type of an offense, just need to be improved. But between the two elements that have improved, between the turnover margin and the offense, where would you lean on more that's led to a 5-1 start, especially the way some of these games have played out?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to go against turnovers there. They're such a big factor. But I try to look at it kind of comprehensively. What I'm writing for tomorrow is looking at like what pieces of what we think we know about Nebraska now are sustainable over a second half. And I've done that by looking at, what changes for teams from one half of the season to the next. And turnovers can be pretty volatile. I think the thing you can't underrate for Nebraska in terms of that so far has been just their ability to get in front and control games, because fumbles are going to happen like at any point. Nebraska's only fumbled the ball total 4 times, and it's only lost 1 of those on offense. They had more than that in their first 2 games last year in terms of times they put the ball on the turf. So that's one of those things that you can maybe chalk up, I think, to a coaching point of like, hey guys, we've really got to do this. Also, not having as much QB run factors in there. But with interceptions, those can be heavily influenced by if you're trying to play catch up. And Nebraska hasn't had to a lot of the time. These games are going to get closer over the last 6. Like it wouldn't even matter what the schedule is. It's just 6 Big Ten games. So I think in terms of maintaining the edge that they've gotten on the turnovers front is probably a lot to do with that. Can they jump on teams early the way that they have so far?
Hey, without looking and sticking with numbers, breaking down first half to second half, I know Nebraska in terms of like plays per minute or, how many seconds per play, they are towards the bottom in pace in college football. Does it seem like to the naked eye, they play with more tempo in the first half and then the second half, it's slower?
Yeah, I haven't looked at that specifically, but that would be my gut reaction as well. They feel pretty cautious in the second half, which is maybe defensible given that they're 5-1 to this point. But again, not even looking at the strength of the opponents on the schedule, which is stronger than I think what we would have said at this exact point a year ago over the back half. You just know games are going to be closer. So in terms of the first half, second half splits, which I definitely think are a thing for the offense in particular, maybe that changes it a little bit. I just got done talking about in terms of the value of turnovers, the value of being ahead. But in terms of the offense and what we've seen from them in the second half of games so far, like being in a tied game or being in a close game might change that too.
If you're looking at this, and maybe this is something that is a discussion for next week as well, defensively of what the numbers tell you, where Nebraska is not only in the Big Ten, but given the opponent shift starting next week with what they'll see offensively, I would love to know your assessment of what encourages you the most going into, we could leave Ohio State for that week, but for a team like Indiana that has offensive numbers that right now are off the chart.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I was literally right before I hopped on with you guys was just finishing this up, looking at kind of first half this year to first half last year defensively. And a lot of the numbers, and I don't know, my impression is the general feeling on defense is like still really good, maybe a half step back from what they were last year. In terms of midpoint to midpoint, a lot of the numbers are really closer than I would have thought. So I think the difference in what you're hitting on, Nick, is okay, well, you'd already played Michigan at this point last year. Now you've got Ohio State and Indiana, who I think scored more touchdowns than anybody in the country. So it is gonna go up. I think the good thing for Nebraska at this point, it's remained good in the success rate and in the analysis I've been kind of looking at. That's one of the parts that's portable. Like if you're good in that part in the first 6 games, you're usually pretty good in the second 6. It's the big plays piece of it that, you can be great in the first 6 games and terrible in the last 6. That's really volatile. And I think coming right out of the break, you have 2 opponents who are really going to challenge Nebraska on that front because they've been good in the big plays department defensively. But we'll see. I think these are probably 2 of the best offenses they've faced. Colorado, pretty good offense, and handled that one. But we'll see what happens here.
Sticking with defense, mid-season All Big Ten, you have to nominate players, and you get one guy on defense to nominate for All Big Ten mid-season. Who would that guy be?
It's tough to go against Ty Robinson. And I know like with defensive, particularly interior defensive linemen, it gets a little bit tricky because you can be a little bit of an unsung hero there, which I think might be the case for Nash at this point. But Ty Robinson, you just kind of can't argue with the numbers that he's put up, from sacks to pass breakups to has a blocked kick, the whole piece of it. I mean, if the season ended today, I think he would have to be first team All Big Ten. And, when Greg Schiano said after the game last week that in terms of the interior D-line, this is maybe one of the 5 best in college football, like that means something to me. Greg Schiano coaches good defense, and he knows some pretty good defense.
Same lines, and I'm not trying to nominate him for this award, but I thought maybe if we were having this conversation and you asked me at the beginning of the season, give me 3 guys that you think could be a part of that honor, I would have said Isaac Gifford. Up and down a little bit, a good bounce back last week, had a bad one against Illinois. Hey, there are other people who did as well. How have you looked and assessed Isaac Gifford this season, and maybe where he's had the most challenges?
Yeah, I think his role has changed a little bit too, in terms of he's played a lot of middle of the field safety, like especially early in those, against UTEP and Colorado in particular. Like he was just kind of way back there and didn't have a lot of opportunity. I think contextually beyond the numbers on the field, like you still see his value. He's still the guy on Monday that Matt Rule felt comfortable saying, like, yeah, it was Isaac Gifford. He missed that block. And he acknowledged that. So I think as you get deeper into the season, like things just get tougher all around. You're playing all conference opponents, but also teams are dealing with injuries and you're banged up. Like I would be surprised if his numbers didn't kind of come back up to where we might have expected them to be. So yeah, it's been a little bit more up and down than I would have expected for over the first 6, but I feel bullish on Gifford overall over the back half.
All right, we'll get chatter on this. The new 4 play old 4 this week. Give me a winner. Oregon, Ohio State.
Ohio State. It's gonna be a tough trip, and it goes against the numbers for these teams jumping two time zones in the Big Ten. But I think Ohio State's shown me more at this point.
UCLA, Minnesota.
I mean, Minnesota's been better, and I think their season win total opened at 4.5, and if they get this one, I think they're at 4. So I'll take the Gophers. It's a tricky spot when you add in the travel plus coming off a big win, but I'll take the Gophers to gut one out.
Washington, Iowa.
I've been thinking about this one too. I think I'll take the Huskies. I think they might be pretty good. And I think so they had the tough loss to Rutgers, had the loss, forgetting their other early Big Ten loss, but I think that team might be really good. And if they end up that way over the back 6, like what a job by Jed Fish. Like that might be a program to take way more seriously than the one we all thought was kind of left for dead after DePore's departure.
USC, Penn State.
I'll take Penn State on that one too. This is a tough slate, so maybe we'll write some of those numbers. I guess I took all 4 teams that are going west, but I think Penn State is able to get it done. Though it's gonna be a tricky spot for them.
All right,
clean sweep.
Yeah. All right, looking forward to the next newsletter coming out tomorrow on counterread.com. As always, my friend, thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
That's Brandon Vogel. You can follow him on Twitter at Brandon L. Vogel. And, of course, counterread.com is Substack. Make sure you sign up. Become a subscriber to that. There is some great content there ahead of week 7 of the college football season, which tonight you can watch Conference USA.
Hi-oh!
New Mexico State,
New
Mexico State and Jacksonville State.
Ooh.
If you watched FIU and Liberty yesterday, you saw that Liberty is unbeaten.
Liberty.
And they won in overtime.
I'm going to be in the baseball.
There's also that.
I'll be into the baseball.
4 baseball games. Good luck to your team.
Thank you.
All right. Good
May
luck.
the beer be
I
cold.
look forward to it.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you on Monday.
Yes. You boys have a great rest of the week.
We'll be back in tomorrow. And for everybody going to Kansas City.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to Reese, by the way. Enjoy Van Halen at his party.
You can say it next Wednesday because it's actually next Wednesday.
Okay.
The party's on Saturday.
Happy birthday. For Nick, for Jimmy, for all of our great guests and all of you, thanks for tuning in on a Wednesday. We're back in 20 hours on 1620 The Zone.